Chapter 105. However, he definitely couldn't show it. Although he needed to temporarily relieve the pain in his hip bone, he still stood up confidently and smiled faintly. You have some skills? It seems like our strength is about the same. That kid's hip was hurt by you. Go and beat him up now. He can't run away. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice sounded in Xiao Chen's ears. Xiao Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. I say, Elder Heaven Ancestor, can't you see that my fist bone is also dislocated? Then why don't you use the mantra to repair it? What are you waiting for? Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily. Okay. Xiao Chen took advantage of Niu Zijian's time to use the mantra and let the vitality rush to his wrist and fist. A trace of comfortable warmth wrapped around Xiao Chen's injured area. Soon it was as good as new. Your hip bone must be very painful, right? You're still pretending to talk to me. Do you think that I didn't notice? Xiao Chen looked at Niu Zijian with a smile that wasn't a smile. His voice was full of ridicule and ridicule. If you say that, then I also have to say, is your hand going to break? Niu Zijian was not angry that Xiao Chen saw through him. He only sneered and said, My 1,000 legs are iron legs. Your hand is probably more serious than mine, right? Sorry to disappoint you. My hand is fine. Look, I can still move and make gestures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Xiao Chen kept changing his hand gestures. You're pissing me off. Go and beat him up. Elder Heaven Ancestor was annoyed by Xiao Chen. If you have the time to show off, why don't you beat him up instead? He has already recovered. Didn't you notice? Xiao Chen naturally wasn't the kind of person who would show off. Although his hand had recovered, he also saw that Niu Zijian had changed his posture. This meant that he was almost done. Sorry, I didn't notice. Elder Heaven Ancestor was a little embarrassed. I noticed you just now. Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Luckily, my observation skills are good. Otherwise, I would have rushed up and been killed by you. That's because I taught you cultivation. Otherwise, how could your observation skills be so good? Elder Heaven Ancestor laughed dryly. I was wondering why your hand was so strong. So it's because you practice your hand skills. Although Niu Zijian was surprised to see that Xiao Chen's hand was fine, he quickly assumed that Xiao Chen was the same as him. It was just that Xiao Chen mainly cultivated his hand. Don't worry about it. If you want to fight, then hurry up. If not, then admit defeat. Xiao Chen waved his hand. Courting death. Niu Zijian rarely had an opponent in the boxing field. Today, White Fox made him a little annoyed. Most importantly, White Fox was just an appetizer. If he didn't get rid of him quickly, it wouldn't be good to delay young Master Lu's business. Thinking of this, Niu Zijian immediately shouted and rushed toward Xiao Chen again. But this time he was smart. He didn't just use his feet, but his hands and feet. His right fist and left foot, one left and one right, attacked Xiao Chen at the same time. Xiao Chen didn't expect Niu Zijian to attack from both sides, but he didn't dodge. He swung his left fist and stretched out his right foot. He was ready to fight head-on like last time. Anyway, as long as Xiao Chen had time to circulate the mantra, he could recover from his injury. He was a cultivator. The recovery of his injury depended entirely on the vitality in his body. It was completely different from the natural recuperation of a martial artist. He had a huge advantage. He didn't believe that Niu Zijian's fist was trained. In this way his leg was fine, but his fist would definitely be injured. At that time, Niu Zijian's recuperation time would definitely be longer, and Xiao Chen would have a chance. However, Xiao Chen's combat experience was still lacking. In the previous 4 matches he basically won with a strong advantage in strength, but this time he made a mistake in judgment. Niu Zijian rushed in front of Xiao Chen, but he suddenly retracted his fist and feet. His figure suddenly changed, from the previous right fist and left foot to the left fist and right foot. Xiao Chen couldn't help but be shocked. Although he noticed this change and his brain reacted immediately, he was still a step too late. After all, Niu Zijian suddenly changed his move at a close distance. Bang! Bang! Xiao Chen blocked Niu Zijian's left fist, and his left fist also swung out. Although it didn't block Niu Zijian's right fist, it also smashed on Niu Zijian's shoulder. However, the left leg below took a solid hit from Niu Zijian. After all, the leg was different from the fist. When Xiao Chen swung his right fist, his left fist could also be swung out reflexively without retracting it. However, when his right leg was raised and didn't fall down, his left leg couldn't be lifted at all. Xiao Chen wasn't a jet plane. He needed a gravity support point. Pa! The fist was nothing. After all, Niu Zijian's fist wasn't as overbearing as the leg, but his left leg had a piercing pain. He almost fell to the ground. Xiao Qin quickly retracted his leg. Originally he wanted to kick with his right leg, but his left leg couldn't support it anymore. He could only retract his right leg to support his body. Although he hit Xiao Qin, Niu Zijian's shoulder was hit by Xiao Qin, and his left fist was also in great pain. He quickly took a few steps back before he could stand firm. Niu Zijian was very surprised. This change of fist and feet was his unique skill. He had practiced for many years to be able to make rapid changes at the critical moment. This kind of speed couldn't be achieved by ordinary people. This kind of move was very deceptive. Niu Zijian had used this move to kill several opponents, including a martial artist who had just advanced to the 4th stage of inner force. However, Xiao Qin could actually respond in such a situation. Although it couldn't be said to be a complete response, at least he swung both his fists. This made Niu Zijian take it seriously. He didn't know if Xiao Qin was injured now. He had kicked Xiao Qin previously, but Xiao Qin's fist seemed to be uninjured. Therefore, Niu Zijian didn't dare to be careless. He quickly took a few steps back. He was afraid that if Xiao Qin was fine, it would be his death. His fist and shoulder were in great pain. His entire upper body didn't feel like it was his own. He had to adjust his breathing. Xiao Qin learned from his mistakes, but he couldn't be blamed. He used to be the young master of the Xiao family. He usually trained by himself. When did he fight with others? These tricks hadn't formed a concept in his mind. He endured the pain in his left leg. Although it was heart-wrenching, Xiao Qin knew that this was a great opportunity for him. While Niu Zijian's upper body injury hadn't been adjusted, he could take advantage of the situation and win a crucial victory. As for his leg, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Xiao Qin was a person with strong endurance. If a good-for-nothing didn't have a bit of perseverance, how could he overdraft himself in the secret room for more than 10 years? Of course, this was also because Xiao Qin had a very powerful and domineering identity as a cultivator. Cultivators could use vitality to heal themselves, but martial artists couldn't. If a martial artist's body was injured and they didn't adjust their breathing to temporarily return the injured part to its original position with their inner strength, but instead continued to fight, it was very likely that the injury would worsen or even be unable to recover, resulting in a lifelong disability. But it didn't matter to Xiao Qin. One was a body refiner, the other was a qi refiner. As long as the vitality in Xiao Qin's body was still there, no matter how serious his injury was, he could recover. This time it was Xiao Qin's turn to attack first. This made Niu Zijian's eyes flash with a trace of surprise. He couldn't understand why the white fox didn't adjust his breathing for a moment after suffering a heavy blow from him and launched an attack. Could it be that the white fox really wasn't injured before? Not only was his hand kung fu good, but his leg kung fu was also good? However, what shocked Niu Zijian was yet to come. Xiao Qin actually used the same ultimate move as before, right fist and left leg. Could it be that his left leg really wasn't injured at all? Otherwise, why would he use his left leg to attack? For the first time, Niu Zijian doubted if his ultimate move was effective. However, Niu Zijian was a veteran boxer after all. At this moment he didn't panic. He quickly retreated while adjusting his breathing. Fortunately, his leg was fine. It didn't affect his retreat when he was adjusting his breathing. However, he couldn't be too fast. It would affect the injury on his upper body. Although Niu Zijian was retreating, his eyes were fixed on the white fox's right fist and left leg. He wanted to see clearly if the white fox was like him, playing a feint and then quickly changing his move. Although Niu Zijian felt that the possibility wasn't very high, his ultimate move had been practiced for more than 3 years. However, this white fox was really a bit difficult to deal with. What made Niu Zijian relieved was that Xiao Qin didn't show any signs of changing his move even when he was close to him. Niu Zijian just finished adjusting his breathing. With his upper body, Niu Zijian didn't dare to punch Xiao Qin again. However, his legs were fine. He suddenly tilted his body to the side, wanting to avoid Xiao Qin's right fist. Then his right leg kicked toward Xiao Qin's left leg. Pa! Pong! 2 loud sounds. That's right, there were indeed 2 sounds. One was when Xiao Qin's fist hit Niu Zijian's body. The other was when his leg kicked Niu Zijian's leg. Left fist and right leg. Ouch! Niu Zijian suddenly screamed. His sternum was dented by Xiao Qin right in the heart. However, Niu Zijian didn't understand until he died. He clearly saw the white fox's right fist and left leg, but it was the left fist and right leg that hit his body. He didn't see the white fox change his move, not even until he died. He was a martial artist at the peak of the 3rd stage of inner force. He thought he could clearly see if Xiao Qin changed his move at the last moment, but the audience was quite far away and they were just watching the show. No one cared what Xiao Qin used. Illusion. What Xiao Qin used just now was the special ability of a third-stage refinement cultivator. Chapter 106. Xiao Qin couldn't change his moves at the last minute like Niu Zhijian. He didn't even have normal combat experience, let alone such a difficult move that required many times of practice. The illusion made Niu Zhijian think that Xiao Qin had always been using his right fist and left leg. He didn't change his moves until the end, but Niu Zhijian had seen wrongly. Boom! With a dull sound of contact with the floor, Niu Zhijian fell to the ring, giving him a taste of his own medicine. The same move, but the outcome was completely different. In fact, if Xiao Qin wanted to win, he didn't need to kill Niu Zhijian at all. However, due to the needs of his true identity, Niu Zhijian had to die. If he didn't die today, he would turn around and deal with him. At that time, he couldn't expose his true strength, so it would be a little difficult to deal with. Xiao Qin stood in the ring and looked coldly at Niu Zhijian's corpse. He circulated his mental cultivation method and used his primordial energy to repair the injury on his leg. The referee was a little dumbfounded at this moment. He was a member of the Lu family gang, so he naturally knew Niu Zhijian. The cheers from the audience made the referee a little overwhelmed. Niu Zhijian was actually dead? The ace boxer of the boxing arena, the super fighter of the Lu family gang, and a peak third-stage inner-strength martial artist. How could he die just like that? Referee, can you announce it now? I'll get off the stage to rest and get my prize. Xiao Qin had already circulated his mental cultivation method and used his primordial energy to repair the injuries on his body before he spoke lightly. However, from the outside, Xiao Qin didn't seem to have suffered any injuries. This made the referee secretly shocked. He quickly ran to the ring and announced, "This match, White Fox wins." Wow, wow, wow. There were enthusiastic cheers from the audience. Although Xiao Qin's odds were extremely low, who wouldn't do something like betting to make money? Everyone had bet heavily. Of course, they were overjoyed that Xiao Qin had won. The connoisseur recognized the artistry, while the layman enjoyed the show. Lu Jinming, who was sitting in his office, was livid. He never expected that the Lu family gang's super fighter would die in the ring. Now, not only did the boxing arena have to lose money, but most importantly, what would happen if Xiao Qin came later? Calm down, Master Ming. Winning and losing are common in the boxing arena. You can only win if you lose. Our arena has been around for a long time and we are still making a profit. You don't have to worry. Luozi was angry. Why did White Fox appear at this time? If he made Lu Jinming unhappy, what if he went back and told Lu Siwen to replace him as the person in charge of the boxing field? Then his good days would come to an end. After all, being a small boss here was a good life. If he returned to the gang and became a normal soldier, Luozi would be in deep trouble. Both of them were amateurs, so they couldn't tell how the White Fox had won. I understand everything you say, but what if my classmate comes later? Lu Jinming frowned. We can't fight to the death without a top-level match. What if we arrange a match for him and he admits defeat? According to the rules, he can't fight anymore. This? Luozi was helpless. Your classmate hasn't come yet, right? Maybe he's afraid that he won't come? What if he comes? That kid went to the morning market to sell youtiao. Maybe he'll go there at night too. It'll be a waste of time. Lu Jinming didn't dare to take the risk. Then, even if he comes, why don't you tell him first and let him familiarize himself with the environment? Then bring him to watch other matches. When he's ready, he'll fight in a few days, Luozi said after some thought. I'll try. Lu Jinming nodded with a frown and said, but if he comes, don't arrange other matches. At that time, only arrange a first-level match. Don't let him see any boxing masters that are too powerful. If he doesn't dare to fight after seeing them, then it would be a waste of effort. I understand. Luozi quickly nodded. Master Ming, don't worry. I've already sent someone to patrol the entrance. They'll inform me as soon as they see the person in the photo you sent me. Okay, that's good. Lu Jinming said, that White Fox, hurry up and make him scram. Tell him that the strongest opponent has already been killed by him. He is not allowed to challenge opponents weaker than Niu Zhijian. Master Ming doesn't need to remind me. That's the truth. Luozi said, that's the rule. Our people will inform him. Sure enough, when Xiao Qin entered the lounge to rest, the man in the white shirt quickly walked over and said, Mr. White Fox, you've already won the final victory. Currently you're the strongest boxer here. If there are no other opponents who want to challenge the top matches, you can't go on stage for the time being. I understand. Give me the bill. Xiao Qin nodded to show that he understood. Just now, he used his spiritual sense to sense Luozi's office. He clearly heard the conversation between Lu Jinming and Luozi. Okay, Mr. White Fox. After the man in the white shirt heard Xiao Chen's reply, he suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Since White Fox wasn't fighting anymore, his worries were gone. Your current bonus is 795,200 yuan. Because you're the ever-victorious general, we've decided to round it up to 800,000 yuan. Thank you very much. Xiao Chen nodded. Yes, although it was only 5,000 yuan more, 5,000 yuan was still money. Now that Xiao Chen was short of money, it was good to have as much as possible. However, Xiao Chen was a little grateful to you, Xiao Chuan. Thanks to the girl fund that he gave him. However, Xiao Chen had some doubts now. Did you, Xiao Chuan, really give the money? Why didn't he give it directly to me but to Tang Tang? It didn't make sense to say that it was to save my face. He had already seen Xiao Chen's shamelessness. Every time he invited me to dinner, he never cared about my face. Was he afraid that Qi Zhigao would see it? Xiao Chen also couldn't figure it out. At the beginning, his attention was on solving the trouble, so he didn't perceive other things. But then again, who would expect this money in advance? With 800,000 yuan in his hand, Xiao Chen quickly left the underground black boxing field. It wasn't a place to stay for a long time. He would come again with his real identity later. If he had more contact with the man in the white shirt, he would be familiar with him. It would be troublesome if he recognized him. For a master like White Fox, the boxing field would naturally not send people to follow him. It was good to send away this kind of plague. Who would have the mood to provoke him? However, although he felt that no one followed him, Xiao Chen still did not directly take his school bag. Instead, he walked around a few times, and then released his divine sense spiritual power to sense for a while. After confirming that no one was following him, he quickly walked to the place where he hid his school bag. He put away the mask and the chef's suit and restored his appearance when he went to school. He picked up his school bag and dialed Lu Jinming's phone number. Xiao Chen. Lu Jinming picked up the phone. He didn't expect Xiao Chen to really call him. Before, he was looking forward to Xiao Chen's call, but now he didn't look forward to it. Young Master Lu, your underground black boxing field is really hard to find. I found an abandoned factory. It seems to be here. Can you come out and pick me up? Xiao Chen said while panting. Xiao Chen, it's already this time. There are no boxers in the boxing field. Why don't you come back another day? Lu Jinming asked tentatively. Another day? No way, right? Why are there no boxers? Are you kidding me? If that's the case, then I'm leaving. I won't come back to play with you anymore. Xiao Chen said very disappointedly. Ugh, how is that possible? Lu Jinming hesitated for a moment. Suddenly he had a plan. He said, now there are boxers in this boxing field, but they are all very powerful. I'm afraid that you can't win. It won't be good if you get beaten up again. After all, we are all classmates. I can't harm you, right? Now, Lu Jinming deliberately said this to show Xiao Chen that if Xiao Chen insisted on fighting, then he deserved to die. It couldn't be blamed on him. And at this moment he also secretly turned on the phone recording. His purpose was to leave evidence. In his opinion, a Stage 2 inner energy boxing master was enough to kill Xiao Chen. The reason why he didn't want Xiao Chen to fight was actually because of the audience. After all, there were also people among the audience who knew the ropes. In theory, a level 2 competition couldn't fight to the death. If Xiao Chen was beaten to death, they would be suspicious. However, it wasn't impossible. As long as he prevaricated, he could say that he didn't control his strength well. If he was beaten to death, then he was beaten to death. On the surface, it was fine to deduct the winner's prize money. In fact, behind the scenes he would give the level 2 boxer a little more money. He probably couldn't spread the news. Oh, it's fine. I've already prepared everything. I went to the bank to withdraw some money just now. I heard that I can place a bet. If you want me to go back, wouldn't I have come here for nothing? You still went to withdraw money? After Lu Jinming heard it, he figured out why Xiao Chen came so late. It turned out that he went to the bank first. Thinking of this, Lu Jinming said, that's fine. You wait for me. I'll pick you up now. Okay. Xiao Chen hung up the phone quickly. Not long after, Xiao Chen saw Lu Jinming's figure appear. He waved to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen here. I specifically asked someone to inquire about it. The audience here can also bet. Can I also bet? Asked Xiao Chen. Lu Jinming heaved a sigh of relief. From Xiao Chen's words, it seemed like he wasn't very clear about the rules of the underground fighting arena. Then he had a chance to take advantage of it. Thus he nodded and said, that's right. You can also place a bet for yourself. If you have confidence in yourself, then if you win you can also get some money. Although Lu Jinming said so, in fact he was laughing in his heart. It's fine if Xiao Chen came to die, but he also came to give money. He is really a good person. Chapter 107. While they were talking, they walked into the underground boxing field. Although it was the second time for Xiao Qin to come, he was still like Granny Lu when she first entered the Grandview Garden. He looked left, right, east and west. He was curious about everything. "Xiao Qin, do you think we should prepare for the competition?" asked Lu Jinming. "And tell me about the rules first." Xiao Qin didn't show too much enthusiasm. It would be easy for others to see the problem. "In fact, there are no rules." Lu Jinming said, "After you go up, you just have to try your best to defeat or kill the opponent. The winner will get 100,000 yuan. As for the money to bet, it depends on the odds. You're a newcomer. The general odds are between 1-3 to 1-5. "Oh, then I bet all my family's assets on it." "You have to give me a higher odds," said Xiao Qin. "A higher odds? No problem. I will help you. 1-5. Lu Jinming patted his chest and said, "The person in charge here can still give me this face." "Oh, 1-5. That's fine. I have 200,000 yuan here. You can help me bet." Xiao Qin didn't dare to say too much. Lu Jinming already knew his identity as the young master of the Xiao family. He probably also knew that when he left the Xiao family he left with nothing. It was already very good to get 200,000 yuan. If it was too much, there would be a problem. What's more, if Xiao Qin took out 800,000 yuan directly, then Lu Jinming wouldn't think of anything at that time. If Xiao Qin won later, would he think of the previous white fox? Xiao Qin didn't want to take such a big risk for this little money. Although Xiao Qin was now short of money, in any case saving his life was the first priority. 200,000? That's a lot. Lu Jinming was stunned. He didn't expect Xiao Qin to have so much money. "Oh, I had some before. Tang Tang gave me some, and Yu Xiaochuan gave me some to pick up girls," Xiao Qin said. "All right, I'll help you place the bet. Get ready, you'll be on stage in a while." Lu Jinming nodded, but he was wondering why Yu Xiaochuan gave Xiao Qin so much money. But it didn't matter anymore. Xiao Qin was going to be a dead man soon. Lu Jinming walked out of the preparation room and went to make arrangements for the fighters. The $200,000 was handed over to a staff member for him to bet. Xiao Qin smiled coldly and closed his eyes to rest. After a while, Lu Jinming came back. It was obvious that everything had been arranged. Xiao Qin didn't waste his spiritual awareness to explore this time, because there was no need. The most powerful fighter in the boxing field had been killed by White Fox. If there were more powerful fighters, it was impossible not to send them to deal with White Fox. "Xiao Qin, it's all arranged. Here is the information of your opponent," Lu Jinming said and handed a document to Xiao Qin and said, "Look carefully. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy and you will win every battle." "Thank you, young Master Lu." Xiao Qin took the information gratefully and looked at it. However, this information was obviously modified. If Xiao Qin hadn't seen other people's information before, he wouldn't have found it. In this information, there was no information about the opponent's strength level. It only described what this person did, how many boxing matches he fought, and how many times he won. For these things, Xiao Qin didn't need to look at them at all. What this person used to do had nothing to do with Xiao Qin, but he still pretended to study it very carefully for a long time. Lu Jinming found it very funny. After a while, a white shirt came in and gave Xiao Qin a registration card. Then he said, "Excuse me, would you like to use your real name or a code name?" "Code name. Call me Universe Super Invincible Qin." Xiao Qin didn't know why he thought of the miss and the dog. "Okay." The white shirt was stunned and then nodded. Xiao Qin's registration card was number 109. It seemed that this registration card was not issued in order. It seemed to be random. Not long after, a voice calling for Xiao Qin to go on stage came from the loudspeaker. "Next, I invite the newcomer of the boxing arena, Universe Super Invincible Qin, to get ready." At the same time, Xiao Qin's head appeared on the big screen outside. The person fighting him was the boxer that Lu Jinming had just brought over. Her name was Zhu Juhua. At this time, Xiao Qin went to prepare, and the audience in the audience seat began a new round of bets. Because Xiao Qin was a newcomer, the odds were very high. It was still 1-5. As for Zhu Juhua, although he was an old man, he was just a second-rate boxer. His odds were 1-2, so in comparison there were more people who bet on Xiao Qin. This was also what Er Luozi and Lu Jinming wanted to see. In their eyes, Xiao Qin would lose without a doubt. He could still earn some money for them before he died. It was an excellent use of trash. 20 minutes later, Xiao Qin and Zhu Juhua went on stage at the same time. Neither of them wore a mask. Xiao Qin guessed that this person's name, Zhu Juhua, was not his real name. How could there be a man named Zhu Juhua? Universe Super Invincible Chen vs. Zhu Juhua. Xiao Qin and Zhu Juhua stood on the stage. Xiao Qin did not appear to be very calm. He looked nervous and looked around. Zhu Juhua looked at Xiao Qin with disdain. Luozi had talked to him alone when they were below the stage. He told him to be a little more ruthless in this match and kill Xiao Qin. Even if he didn't die, he would turn him into a vegetable. On the surface, Zhu Juhua would definitely be declared to have broken the rules and the prize money would be revoked. But secretly, Zhu Juhua would definitely be compensated with a sum of money. It would not be 30,000 for a second-level match, but 10. Zhu Juhua held his fists together and Xiao Qin did the same. Both of them stood still and waited for the referee to announce the start of the match. 3, 2, 1, start. A roar sounded and the match began. Actually, Xiao Qin already had a rough understanding of Zhu Juhua's strength. Based on the number of matches he had participated in, he could tell that Zhu Juhua was a Stage 2 or Stage 3 Inner Force warrior. "Brat, it's not an injustice for you to die in my hands," Zhu Juhua said indifferently and launched his first round of fierce attacks. Now Xiao Qin could see his true strength. He was only a Stage 2 Inner Force warrior. Once upon a time, Xiao Qin had been yearning to reach Stage 1 Inner Force. But now, a Stage 2 Inner Force warrior was like an ant in Xiao Qin's eyes. However, it was impossible for Xiao Qin to kill Zhu Juhua right away. That would expose his strength too obviously. "You're a Stage 2 Inner Force warrior?" Xiao Qin's eyes widened in shock. He broke into a run. Although his movements were nimble and his speed was extremely fast, the force that he unleashed was only close to the first stage of Inner Force. It might not even be at the first stage of Inner Force. Xiao Qin's speed of escape surprised Zhu Juhua. He did not expect Xiao Qin's reaction to be so agile. He actually started running. Zhu Juhua was determined to win. Zhu Juhua's fierce boar fist hit nothing. The reason why Zhu Juhua was called Zhu Juhua was because the martial art he practiced was called Fierce Boar Fist. This was also his famous move. In this ring, although it could not be said to be invincible when he used his full strength, it was difficult for his opponent to escape the fate of being injured. Because his speed was very fast, even if he could dodge it, he would be swept by the wind of the fist and suffer some minor injuries. However, he did not expect that a newbie boxer who had not even reached Stage 1 Inner Force could actually dodge it. What kind of luck was that? However, most of the audience present did not know anything about martial artists, Inner Force martial arts and the like. They were purely here to watch the show. When they saw that Xiao Qin dodged the punch easily, they thought that he was very strong. The people who bet on Xiao Qin immediately cheered. Lu Zhiming was in the surveillance room. He frowned slightly. He had heard about Xiao Qin before. He was a good-for-nothing. He did not expect that although this good-for-nothing strength was not very good, his reaction was not weak. "Humph, you can dodge once but you can't dodge forever." Zhu Juhua snorted coldly. He turned around and urged the fierce boar fist towards Xiao Qin again. However, at the moment when it was about to hit Xiao Qin dodged it again. This luck was really good. However, what happened next was a little strange. Zhu Juhua attacked from behind while Xiao Qin ran in front. Although it seemed to be very dangerous every time, Xiao Qin could always escape in the end. The audience thought that Xiao Qin was very strong at first, but now it seemed that they were a little disappointed. It turned out that he was just a coward who only knew how to dodge. In fact, ordinary people really couldn't dodge Zhu Juhua's fierce attack. Xiao Qin seemed to be in a difficult situation. In fact, even a Stage 2 Inner Force martial artist would not be able to escape unscathed. To kill Zhu Juhua was easy for Xiao Qin. As long as he took the opportunity to dodge and wave his hand, he could end Zhu Juhua. However, Xiao Qin couldn't do that. He kept running and dodging, looking for an opportunity. Motherf **her, this kid is quite agile. Lu Zhiming looked at Xiao Qin dodging again and again. He was a little depressed. He doesn't have any other skills but he's good at escaping. Master Zhiming, this kid might have trained before. Although his strength isn't that great, his dodging skills are not bad, Luozi said. Of course he used to be the Xiao family's Xiao Qin. It's impossible that he didn't train before. He was born useless and couldn't cultivate his inner force no matter how hard he trained. I think his family was afraid that he would be bullied in the future, so he trained to escape. Lu Zhiming analyzed. That's possible, but dodging is not a solution. Judging from his performance, he's a martial artist who hasn't even reached Stage 1 Inner Force. He only has some explosive power and speed. When his stamina is exhausted, it'll be his time to die. Luozi nodded. With this analysis, the two of them were not as anxious as before. They quietly waited for Xiao Qin's stamina to be exhausted. Chapter 108. Those who saw Xiao Chen's high odds and were greedy enough to bet on Xiao Chen were now regretting. This person had been on the stage for 10 minutes, and he hadn't made a single move. He was just dodging. After fighting for a while, Zhu Juhua complained incessantly. Don't look at how he seemed to have the upper hand, chasing after Xiao Chen and fiercely beating him up. However, that was only in the eyes of outsiders. In reality, every time he used a martial technique, he would consume some of his physical strength. After using his inner strength, there was no time to recover, so his physical strength consumption was no less than Xiao Chen's. Moreover, he was also anxious. He came with a mission, but it seemed that Xiao Chen was running around in circles. In fact, Xiao Chen had been looking for an opportunity, but he didn't know where to start. Seeing that Zhu Juhua's inner strength and speed were getting weaker, he knew that Zhu Juhua was also tired. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's mouth flashed a smile, and then he said to Elder Heaven Ancestor, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, let him think that he hit me. This kind of errand again. Is this kind of small shrimp worth my time?" Although Elder Heaven Ancestor complained, he still prepared to do as he was told. The reason why Xiao Chen didn't use illusion was that he was different from the previous white fox. If he used illusion, Xiao Chen would make a feint, and it wouldn't match his previous image. This time, let's see if you die or not. Zhu Juhua was really affected by Elder Heaven Ancestor. He thought that he hit Xiao Chen, so he smashed in the direction where Xiao Chen was standing. And at this moment, Xiao Chen had already turned behind Zhu Juhua. He suddenly extended his leg and kicked fiercely at the space between his legs. "Zhu Juhua, I'll give you an anus." Bang. With a muffled sound, Xiao Chen's kick not only landed on Zhu Juhua's buttocks, but it also landed on Zhu Juhua's balls. These two were the weaker parts of the human body. Even if Zhu Juhua was a stage 2 inner force martial artist, she still cried out in pain and knelt on the ground. His hands covered his lower body and he rolled on the ground. Xiao Chen took this opportunity to kick Zhu Juhua's head. 1 kick, 2 kicks, 3 kicks, and each kick was aimed at the temple. Zhu Juhua was already in pain, so how could he care about defense? As a result, he was dizzy from the kicks from Xiao Chen. He fainted after a few kicks and he didn't know if he would wake up again. "I won, haha, I won." Xiao Chen saw that Zhu Juhua was not moving. He was stunned at first, but then he shouted excitedly. At this time, the judge also came up to the stage. Although Air Luozi had told him not to stop Zhu Juhua from killing Xiao Chen had now won. He could only announce Xiao Chen's victory. "This match, the universe's super invincible Chen wins," the judge announced loudly. Xiao Chen was panting heavily and he quickly got off the stage. He did not enjoy the joy of winning. Instead, he was scared. He said as he walked, "Scared me, scared me. Lu Jinming, you bastard, are you trying to kill me?" Lu Jinming was in Air Luozi's office, and he saw everything clearly. When he saw Xiao Chen win the match in such a way, he was speechless with anger. Wasn't this the same trick he used to beat up Ma Gangmin? It was a kick to the anus. It was extremely vicious. However, he could not say anything. There were no rules in this boxing match. No matter what Xiao Chen did, it was fine as long as he won. Therefore, while he sighed at Xiao Chen's good luck, he was also annoyed. If Niu Zijin did not die, he would not be so weak. Zhu Juhua's strength was too low, and her reflexes were not strong enough. Instead, she was defeated by a trash like Xiao Chen, who did not even have level 1 inner force. Was Xiao Chen really a trash? Perhaps they had overlooked one point. Not to mention someone who did not have level 1 inner force, even someone with level 1 inner force would not be able to win against Zhu Juhua. Originally, Lu Jinming was in a bad mood. His face was pale, but he had to welcome Xiao Chen. At this time, when he heard Xiao Chen say that he tricked him, it made him even more depressed. "Xiao Chen, congratulations. You see, I told you that money is easy to earn." On the surface, Lu Jinming pretended to be happy and congratulate him. "I say, young Master Lu, are you trying to trick me? This person is a martial artist with level 2 inner force. Aren't you trying to trick me by asking me to fight with him?" Fortunately, I ran fast and practiced a unique skill, which is the flying kick to the anus. Otherwise, I would be lying on the ring today. Xiao Chen said to Lu Jinming angrily. "Xiao Chen, you can't blame me for this. Didn't I say it before? The remaining boxers today are very powerful. I asked you to come another day. I was afraid that I would scam you, but you insisted on participating. I couldn't do anything about it." Lu Jinming shrugged helplessly. "How can you blame me for this?" "That's true. I insisted on it. I thought it was easy. I didn't expect it to be so difficult." Xiao Chen nodded in agreement. "Right, young Master Lu, where's my money?" "I will ask someone." When Lu Zhiming thought of Xiao Chen's odds, the corner of his mouth twitched twice. He was counting on using Xiao Chen to earn some money, but the odds were 1 to 5. He lost a lot. In comparison, Xiao Chen's little bit of money was really nothing. And thank you, young Master Lu. You really want to be friends with me now. You know that I'm short of money, so you sent me money. You, young Master Yu and young Master Kun are all my partners and good friends. Xiao Chen said gratefully. Ha, of course. Lu Zhiming's smile was uglier than crying. However, his heart moved and he suddenly asked, "Right, Xiao Chen, do you want to pursue the victory and fight again?" In Lu Zhiming's opinion, Xiao Chen was completely relying on good luck this time. After that, Zhu Juhua was confused by Xiao Chen. She might have been a little impatient, so Xiao Chen found the opportunity. However, if there was another second-stage inner force martial artist, Xiao Chen wouldn't be as lucky as before. It can't be. You're right. The strength of these martial artists today is very high. I'm not their opponent. I was lucky to win just now. I should stop while I'm ahead. Let's talk about it later. Xiao Chen said. Okay. Xiao Chen didn't want to fight anymore. He couldn't force Xiao Chen to fight, right? Moreover, the words that said that the martial artists were powerful were also said by him. And then I'll take the bonus and leave first. See you tomorrow. Xiao Chen said happily, I didn't expect that I have 1 million. This money is really easy to earn. Oh no, it's 1,300,000. There's also the principal and bonus. I'm rich. I'm really rich. Since I came out of my family, this is the first time I've earned so much money. Haha, then if you're short of money, come again. Lu Zhiming smiled reluctantly and tempted him. Okay, but this opponent is too strong. Are there any weaker players? I heard that there are martial artists and martial artists who are at the first level of inner energy participating. Then I should be able to beat them, right? Xiao Chen suddenly asked. First level. That doesn't seem to be possible. According to the rules of the boxing field, people who have defeated a second-level inner energy martial artist are not allowed to challenge opponents of a lower level. Lu Zhiming quickly explained. If that's the case, then forget it. Well, forget it. It seems that I should really practice hard when I go back. I found that although I can't practice internal energy, I still have strength, especially this anus kick. I'm going to turn it into my unique skill. Speaking of this, I have to thank you, young Master Lu. Ma Gangmen is your younger brother, and you introduced me to this boxing field. When I finish practicing, we can practice together. I heard that your strength is also good, and you are also a warrior who is close to the first level of internal energy. Is it true that you are also a warrior who is close to the first level of internal energy? Our strength is about the same, so we can learn from each other. Puff. Lu Zhiming staggered after listening to Xiao Chen's words. He quickly waved his hand. Xiao Chen is joking. I'm not as good as you. Forget about learning from each other. If there's a chance, you should come and fight. In the past, Lu Zhiming looked down on Xiao Chen and thought that he was a bumpkin. Later, when he knew Xiao Chen's identity, he also thought that Xiao Chen was a loser. But now it seemed that he couldn't beat this loser. After all, he was from a big family. He had more heritage than the underworld family like the Lu family. Even a loser could be so bad *SS. If he fought with Xiao Chen, he would be kicked into anal fistula. He didn't know when it started, but when Lu Zhiming and Xiao Chen were alone, he felt a little afraid. Oh, then forget it. We're good friends now. I can't beat you up. It's not fun to learn from each other. When I succeed in my cultivation, Ma Gangmen should be discharged from the hospital, right? Why don't I let him practice with me? Xiao Chen nodded and said. Lu Zhiming was a little regretful. Why did he provoke Xiao Chen for no reason? This kid was really a warmonger. He was a loser, but he was still so restless. If he was a genius, then others wouldn't be able to stop. But now the hatred had been formed. It was impossible for Lu Zhiming to let it go so easily. He could only take one step at a time and think of other ways to deal with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen left with 9 million. Lu Zhiming went back and calculated with Air Luozi. The underground boxing arena lost a lot in one night. White Fox, Xiao Chen, I hate you. Lu Zhiming clenched his fists and roared at the sky. However, he couldn't afford to provoke the White Fox. That kind of person was obviously a fugitive. Even Yo Zhijian was killed. Lu Zhiming naturally wouldn't dare to provoke the White Fox unless he asked the old ancestor of his family to come forward. However, with his ability, it was impossible for him to ask the old ancestor to come forward for such a small matter. It was getting late. Xiao Chen had to go back as soon as possible. Otherwise, Miss would be worried. On the way back, Xiao Chen passed by a small supermarket. He bought some vegetables, meat, eggs, and a cookbook. Since he had the 6 senses of a cultivator, it would be a waste not to use it. According to the ingredients he bought today, Xiaoqun chose 4 dishes: alfalfa tomato, sweet and sour crucian carp, charred pork strips, sesame oil lettuce, and a sour and spicy soup. 2 meat dishes and 2 vegetables dishes were all common home-cooked dishes. Xiaoqun didn't want to cook those fancy but impractical hotel dishes. His mistress was probably sick of those dishes. Although it was his first time cooking, Xiaoqun was very skilled. The steps of the dishes seemed to have been imprinted in his mind. With the experience of frying youtiao, Xiaoqun only needed to follow the steps and accurately control the ingredients and the timing of the ingredients to make a good meal. Forget it. Since you like your goddess so much, I'll give you some advice. Back in the day, I was also a master at picking up girls. As Xiaoqun was cooking, he suddenly heard the voice of the elder heaven ancestor. Ahem, elder heaven ancestor, don't scare me, okay? I'm concentrating on cooking and you scared me. Xiaoqun smiled bitterly. Fortunately, he had good psychological quality. Otherwise, he would have done something wrong. When you're cooking, you can inject a trace of primordial qi into the dish. Just a trace is enough. The elder heaven ancestor said, the dish made in this way will be much more delicious than normal dishes. Even if it has no taste, it will be as addictive as smoking cigarettes. Inject primordial qi? Smoking cigarettes? Will there be any problem? Xiaoqun was slightly stunned. It's just a metaphor. You naughty disciple, why are you so stupid? How can primordial qi compare with smoking cigarettes? It's formed by the essence of heaven and earth. Therefore, a trace of primordial qi is enough to make it delicious in the mortal world. The elder heaven ancestor said, why do people say the celestial peaches are delicious? In fact, it's because the ordinary peaches are contaminated with celestial aura, which is the spiritual aura of heaven and earth. I see. Xiaoqun nodded and injected a trace of primordial qi into the alfalfa tomatoes in the pot. Of course, he did not dare to inject too much primordial qi into them. He was afraid that the mistress and Jean Bebe would have problems eating them. Of course. If you don't believe me, you can try it later. The elder heaven ancestor said proudly, it was invented by a buddy of mine years ago. He has more than 10 wives. So, is he good at picking up girls or you? Xiaoqun was speechless. Let's not talk about this. After the elder heaven ancestor said that, he remained silent as if he did not exist. After Xiaoqun finished preparing the alfalfa tomatoes, he made the sweet and sour crucian carp, the charred pork strips, and the sesame oil lettuce. He even injected a trace of primordial qi into the hot and sour soup. To Xiaoqun's surprise, the speed at which the dishes cooled down was obviously slower. In other words, when Xiaoqun finished the last dish, the first alfalfa tomatoes were still steaming hot. There was no telling whether it was his illusion or not, but Xiaoqun put the dishes on the dining table while he was amazed. Then he invited Cheng Menjing and Jean Bebe to join him for dinner. The first meal was the instant noodles that Cheng Menjing made for Jean Bebe. However, the two of them went to watch TV after they finished the noodles. After watching the latest episode of Campus Belle's Bodyguard, the instant noodles became soft and tasted horrible. The two of them ate the noodles together and threw them away before they could finish the entire box. Also, it was the last box at home. Since the two of them were unwilling to go out to buy more noodles, they waited for Xiaoqun to come back and see if he had brought delicious food. As they expected, he did. Wow, it smells so good. Cousin-in-law, if I had known that you were really a transformer, we wouldn't have gone to the Azure Sea Palace. We could have just eaten at home. Before Jean Bebe walked to the dining table, she was already drooling because of the fragrance. It's not that delicious. Cheng Menjing secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, but on the surface she looked like she did not care. She glanced at Xiaoqun and said, it's your honor that I'm going to test it myself. Ah, of course. It's my honor that you can eat the food I cooked. Xiaoqun smiled. He had begun to get to know his mistress. Since she liked the taste, he would just play along with her. Cheng Menjing cleaned the corner of her clothes that had been crumpled on the couch and walked close slowly, hoping to see what Xiaoqun had done. But the moment she raised her head, she discovered that Jean Bebe was already wolfing down the food with a handful of burnt strips of meat in her mouth. Hey Bebe, what are you doing? What am I supposed to eat if you are eating so fast? Seeing that the burnt strips of meat were almost gone, Cheng Menjing immediately bristled. Sup? It's so delicious. Cousin Menjing, my husband is all yours. You can eat it every day, but Bebe is leaving tomorrow. You won't be able to eat it. Jean Bebe swallowed the delicious food in her mouth and said, who wants to eat it every day? I don't care about it. Cheng Menjing snorted, but she was a little complacent. That's great. Bebe will eat it all. Jean Bebe clapped her hands happily. After saying that, she continued to grab the burnt strips of meat and stuff them into her mouth. Hey, I said I don't care about it, but I'm hungry. I have to force myself to eat something. Cheng Menjing was immediately infuriated. Slow down. Wait for me to wash my hands and come back. Cheng Menjing ran to the washroom quickly. However, no matter how fast she was not as fast as Jean Bebe's mouth. The burnt strips of meat were almost gone. Is it so delicious? Seeing that the bottom of the plate was exposed, Xiaochen picked up the last strip of meat on the plate and planned to taste it himself. He had been busy cooking just now and had not tasted it. There's no more? Cheng Menjing came back after washing her hands. She found that the plate was empty, but Jean Bebe's mouth was full of grease. Ew. Spit it out for me. Oh. Gulp. Jean Bebe swallowed the food in her mouth and looked at Cheng Menjing meekly. I can't spit it out. Can I spit it out? Go to hell. Cheng Menjing glared at Jean Bebe in fury. She turned around and saw that there was still a burnt strip of meat in Xiaochen's hand. She immediately grew anxious. Xiaochen, give it to me. Okay. Xiaochen picked it up. Before he ate it, he had seen his mistress arguing with Jean Bebe and forgot to eat it. Seeing that Cheng Menjing wanted it from him, Xiaochen raised his hand and raised the burnt strip of meat to his mistress's mouth. After all, she was his ex-fiancée and his current mistress. What was the big deal about giving in to her? Xiaochen did not mind Cheng Menjing's order at all. Smelling the fragrance, Cheng Menjing almost drooled. She opened her mouth and took a bite of the burnt strip of meat in Xiaochen's hand. However, the taste was too delicious. It was crisp and not greasy. Cheng Menjing wanted more after one bite, so she continued eating. She ate the remaining piece of charred meat in Xiaochen's hand, but it seemed like it wasn't enough. She sucked on Xiaochen's finger a few more times, as if sucking on his finger was more delicious. At this moment, Xiaochen was dumbfounded. Xiaochen realized what was going on too. The feeling of his finger being sucked and licked by Cheng Menjing's small mouth and tongue made Xiaochen feel strangely comfortable. Watching the proud mistress sucking his finger was not only a physical enjoyment but also a psychological satisfaction. Cheng Menjing only cared about the delicious food and did not think too much about it. Seeing that Xiaochen's hand was still in midair, she was still not satisfied. Hey, is there any more? I haven't tasted anything yet. I want to taste it again. Well, Cousin Menjing, you sucked my cousin-in-law's finger just now. You are indeed having an affair. Jean Bebe was dazed too. You are so skilled. You didn't practice with your mouth, did you? Chapter 110. Only then did Cheng Menjing realize what she had just done. She was a little flustered after hearing Jean Bebe's words. Bebe, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm just afraid that you'll snatch it away and eat it. Yes, that's it. Fine. It's meaningless to expose you. Jean Bebe shrugged. I'm going to keep eating. I'm going to eat too. This time, Cheng Menjing was no longer reserved. She picked up the chopsticks and began to put food into her bowl. Jean Bebe, on the other hand, picked up the plate and poured the food into her bowl. Bebe, can you be more ladylike? Seeing that more than half of the alfalfa tomatoes were gone, Cheng Menjing was immediately anxious. Cousin Menjing is the ladylike one, said Jean Bebe. Neither am I. Cheng Menjing picked up the sesame oil lettuce and placed it in front of her. Seeing the two of them fighting for food, Xiaochen was somewhat speechless. Was it really that delicious? He had thought that 4 dishes and 1 soup would be enough. Who would have thought that it would turn out like this? What would he eat later? As he expected, the dishes on the table were soon finished. There were only some vegetable leaves and vegetable soup left. Jean Bebe and Cheng Menjing were both rubbing their bellies in their seats. It seemed that they were very full. Xiaochen had no choice. He scooped a bowl of rice and soaked the leftovers in the soup. It was a stew. He took a bite. It was really delicious. No wonder the 2 girls were so excited about it. Hey Xiaochen, you are not allowed to cook as delicious as this tomorrow. I will get fat. Cheng Menjing said to Xiaochen tiredly. Just don't cook so much. Xiaochen shrugged. Besides, it doesn't matter if you are fat. You are too thin. Xiaochen, do you have a weird taste? Do you like fat girls? Cheng Menjing could not help but ask. Xin Jingxian and Kerlin are not fat either. Xiaochen thought of Tang Tang but he did not say it. Humph. Cheng Menjing snorted and stopped talking. Nobody knew what was on her mind. Jean Bebe did not say anything. She was probably too full to say anything. Otherwise, how could a little chatterbox like her miss the chance to interrupt? After resting for a while, Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei went upstairs to rest. Xiao Chen was about to return to his room to practice when he saw Xiaoye coming downstairs. Smelling the smell of the food that had not dispersed in the dining room, he frowned. You should take some herbal soup. Avoid meat. Thanks for the reminder, but it is not for me. I am. Xiaoye. 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 Shaking her head, Yi Xiaoye said nothing. She opened the fridge and took out the bitter fruit. Obviously she was going to decoct the herbal soup. Xiao Chen nodded at her and returned to his room. To be honest, Xiao Chen coveted Yi Xiaoye's bitter fruit. It would be great if she could give it to him. In that case, he would not have to worry about the high price of the medicinal materials. However, Xiao Chen had some money now. Naturally, he would not covet Yi Xiaoye. After returning to his room, Xiao Chen set the time for the herbal soup and entered the state of cultivation. After taking the decocted herbal soup, Xiao Chen still did not advance to the 4th level of the qi refinement stage smoothly. He was still at the peak of the 3rd level. However, Xiao Chen was not in a hurry. In just a few days he had obtained the strength that he could not achieve in the past 10 years. In particular, the fight in the underground boxing field tonight made Xiao Chen a little excited. Strength, this was the strength that he had dreamed of before, but now he had it when he was down and out. After a quiet night, Xiao Chen got up before dawn the next morning and rushed to the morning market street. Although he had money in his pocket, Xiao Chen did not forget his roots. He went to the morning market street not only to make money, but also because there was his happiness and he wanted to protect his buddy. It's great to see that you are fine. Tang Tang, with dark circles under her eyes, showed a reassuring smile when she saw Xiao Chen. Obviously, she was worried about Xiao Chen all night. I'm sorry, I should have sent you a message last night. Xiao Chen was a little embarrassed. After going back last night, he was busy cooking and then cultivating, so he forgot to tell Tang Tang. It's nothing. Did Qing Minjing not want you to go back so late? Tang Tang shook her head indifferently. It's good that you are fine. Did you win or lose yesterday? I won. I also know that Lu Jinming is deliberately looking for trouble with me, but even if I don't go to boxing, will he let me go? Maybe he will think of other tricks to deal with me. It's better for me to follow his wishes, and he will stop for 2 days. Xiao Chen said. That's true. Tang Tang nodded. Right, how much money did you win? Xiao Chen hesitated and did not hide it. He stretched out a finger. He couldn't say White Fox's, but he could say Xiao Chen's. Even if he didn't say it, maybe Lu Jinming would leak it out. 10,000? Didn't you say that I won 100,000? Tang Tang was slightly stunned and then said, 10,000 is not bad. How many days do I have to sell fried dough sticks? Ugh, it's 1 million. Xiao Chen said. 100, puff, what? Tang Tang's eyes widened, and the action of loading the car stopped. She looked at Xiao Chen blankly. Really? I say Tang Tang, you used to be the miss of the Tang family. 1 million shouldn't be like this, right? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. It wasn't like this before, but now. I don't know what to say. You didn't lie to me, right? Tang Tang still didn't believe it. I really didn't. Xiao Chen said, this is the case. In addition to participating in the competition and winning the 100,000 yuan prize, I also borrowed some money to bet, so I won this much. D*M. You are too ruthless. Then why are you still selling fried dough sticks? Tang Tang was a little baffled. You are already a millionaire. Do you still care about this little money? Isn't there a good saying? It's not how much money you make, but who you make money with. Xiao Chen smiled. Tang Tang was stunned. She looked at Xiao Chen and pursed her lips. For a while, her expression was a little weird. Aren't we brothers? I can't ignore you just because I'm rich, right? Without me you can't make such a popular fried dough stick, right? Xiao Chen saw that Tang Tang seemed to have misunderstood, so he quickly explained. You should have said it earlier. You scared me. I thought there was something wrong with your sexual orientation. Tang Tang patted her chest. Am I really interested in Tang Tang? A thought flashed in Xiao Chen's heart. No, she treats me as a brother. How can I have such a thought? Xiao Chen shook his head. How is it possible? Don't I like Qing Minjing? And I really didn't expect that there would be a counterattack, but Xiao Chen, you have to work hard. Maybe you can counterattack one day. Buddy, I am optimistic about you. Tang Tang patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. I don't expect to counterattack Qing Minjing. It's more likely to counterattack you. Xiao Chen shook his head. He still had self-knowledge. He couldn't be self-righteous just because he had a little strength. There was still a long way to go to make these families look up to him. You really have no ambition. If you want, I'll let you do it now. Tang Tang curled her lips and didn't take Xiao Chen's words seriously. After loading the rickshaw, Xiao Chen pedaled the tricycle in front, and Tang Tang sat behind. This warm scene seemed to be familiar with each other, and the two of them were indispensable. Today, Kerlin didn't work hard when she was pushing the rickshaw, but looked around. The***MN girl just pushed the rickshaw. Why are you looking around? Mother Lin found that Kerlin didn't push the rickshaw well today, which increased her load a lot. She was a little annoyed. Are you looking at the scenery? I don't. Kerlin was actually looking for Xiao Chen, but how dare she say this to her mother? If her mother knew that she was looking for a boy, wouldn't she be beaten to death? If you don't have, then push the rickshaw. You're so weak. Didn't you sleep well? Mother Lin snorted. Lin Kur hurriedly lowered her head and pushed the cart with all her might. However, from the corner of her eyes, she saw a familiar figure pedaling a tricycle at a crossroad not far away. He turned a corner and headed towards the direction of the morning market. Ah! Kerlin exclaimed. It's Xiao Chen. If I push the rickshaw forward like this, I don't want to be discovered by Xiao Chen. At that time, what if Xiao Chen knows that I bought his fried dough sticks? He would misunderstand that I like him, wouldn't he? But I just want to help him. Maybe there's a little affection. What's wrong again? Mother Lin heard her daughter's voice and asked quickly. Although she always scolded Kerlin, she still cared about her daughter. I twisted my ankle. Kerlin's voice was trembling. Lying wasn't her forte. For Xiao Chen, she lied to her parents for the second time. However, because of her trembling voice, Mother Lin really believed it. You unlucky child. Who asked you to look left and right? Are you done? Did you twist your ankle? Is it serious? No, it's okay. I just need to rest for a while. Kerlin said carefully. Then you sit by the side of the road for a while. Your dad and I will push the rickshaw over. Mother Lin was helpless, but her daughter was injured. She couldn't force her to work, right? It was still okay for the two of them to work a little harder. Oh. Kerlin whispered and went to sit by the side of the road. Looking at the figures of her mother and father going away, Kerlin's heart was slightly uncomfortable. Did I learn bad things? How can I lie to my family for a boy? I'm no longer the simple Kerlin from before. Oh. After a while, she estimated that Xiao Chen should have arrived at their booth. Kerlin stood up, lowered her head, and walked quickly to the morning market street. When she passed by Xiao Chen's booth, she was particularly nervous. She tried to hide from the sight of other pedestrians in the morning market. With a glance from the corner of her eyes, she saw that Xiao Chen was busy. He has finally changed. He has become diligent. He is no longer the young master who asked people to eat. I don't know. How is his academic performance? Kerlin didn't dare to stay and quickly ran to her family's board noodle stall. Chapter 111. In fact, it was impossible for Xiao Chen to notice Kerlin at all. There were so many people on the morning market street. He couldn't look at others while frying youtiao, and there was no need for it. It was Kerlin who thought too much. Mother Lin was also preparing to open the stall. When she saw Kerlin running over, she frowned and said, "What's wrong with you, girl? How can you run so fast with a sprained ankle? Do you want to die?" Kerlin's face was a little red. Yes, she was thinking about Xiao Chen's changes before and after, and forgot about her sprained ankle. She quickly said, I was afraid that Mom and Dad would be busy here, so I rushed over as soon as I got better. All right, old lady, don't scold the child. The child is just being kind. Lin Dongliang was an honest man. Although he was sometimes afraid of his wife, he would still speak up when it came to the child. Go and wash the vegetables. Mother Lin nodded. Although she kept scolding Kerlin, she thought that the child was kind, so she let it go. Kerlin rushed to wash the vegetables. However, she had been a little absent-minded. She always thought that after a while she would go to Xiao Chen to buy youtiao and soybean milk, but she was afraid that her mother would not agree. What if she agreed and asked her to buy as much as yesterday? Yesterday he had already taken care of her very much. Today she couldn't be so shameless to ask for so much, right? Worrying about gains and losses, Kerlin was like a robot, mechanically doing the work at hand. Fortunately, there was no technical content in washing vegetables, cooking vegetables and noodles, and there would be no mistakes. When Xiao Chen was making the youtiao, he wanted to inject a trace of primordial qi, but he gave up after thinking about it. These things used to sell were already very delicious. If they were more delicious, it might cause some people's suspicion, and then it would not be worth it. Today Xiao Chen was crazy busy. Tang Tang added a new project. Tofu pudding and soybean milk didn't need to be managed by himself, But in addition to youtiao, there were also sesame balls and fried dough twists. Xiao Qin had been frying non-stop since the beginning of the stall. And their stall had become famous, and there was an endless stream of customers buying things. After a while, Lin felt that it was almost time. She hesitantly raised her head and looked at her mother. "Mom? I still want to eat the youtiao I bought yesterday." Mother Lin was just about to ask what to eat when she suddenly remembered that Lin Ke had bought so much with 15 yuan yesterday. It was a great deal, so she took out another 15 yuan and handed it to Lin Ke. "Let's buy the ones from yesterday. It's enough for our whole family." Ah. Lin Ke's face instantly turned bitter. What she feared had come true. Yesterday Tang Tang had taken care of her and gave her a little more. But today how could she ask for more? "Qin, go." "What?" Lin asked. "Lin, Qin, hurry up and go." Mother Lin frowned. "I'm hungry from all the work." "Oh." Lin had no choice but to pick up the money and slowly walk to Xiao Chen's booth. She was thinking about how she would be scolded when she came back, but scolding was a small matter. Tomorrow, maybe he wouldn't let her buy things anymore. Walking all the way to Xiao Chen's booth, Lin saw that Xiao Chen was frying youtiao and immediately stopped. She didn't want Xiao Chen to see her. Wouldn't it hurt his self-esteem? Lin Ke decided to wait for a while. She found a place with a lot of people to hide, and quietly watched Xiao Chen's side, looking at him seriously frying youtiao, meticulously and without the slightest pause. Lin Ke suddenly realized that Xiao Chen was actually quite handsome. In the past she had already seen his hedonistic side, so when she saw him, it was as if she wanted to avoid him. But now he should be the Prince Charming in the hearts of those girls, right? Lin thought about it and her face turned red. Why did I think of these messy things? Xiao Chen couldn't really like me. He used to pursue me and he also liked Xin Jingxian and Qing Menjing, his fiancée. Maybe he just wanted to play with me? People ate grains, and Xiao Chen hadn't transcended to the ranks of the omnipotent immortals who didn't need to eat and drink. Naturally he had to go to the toilet. The fried youtiao was almost done and it was enough to sell for a while. Xiao Chen said goodbye to Tang Tang and went to the toilet. At this time when Xiao Chen left, Lin breathed a sigh of relief and walked over quickly. However, there were still people buying things at this time. Lin held the 15 yuan and didn't know what to say. Tang Tang also saw Lin. She had some impression of this girl in school uniform who came yesterday, but because she was busy greeting other customers, she didn't have time to talk to her. Until there were no customers for the time being, Tang Tang asked, "Junior sister, what's wrong?" "My mother asked me to buy." Lin's smile at the moment was uglier than crying. She didn't like to take advantage of others. At this moment she said this sentence and she couldn't say anything else. "Your mother asked you to buy?" Tang Tang was slightly stunned. "How much did you buy today?" "My mother asked me to buy yesterday's." Lin spread out the 15 yuan in her hand with some embarrassment and bowed her head shyly. "You still bought yesterday's." Tang Tang was not stupid. Seeing Lin's embarrassment, she immediately understood what she meant. It turned out that her mother felt that she took advantage of her yesterday, and today she still asked her to take advantage of her. However, this girl's mind was relatively simple, and she wasn't used to this. Otherwise, if it were some ordinary people in the market, they would probably directly tell Tang Tang that they bought those for 15 yuan yesterday, and they would also sell these for 15 yuan today. I'm sorry. Sister, you can sell as you like. You don't have to take care of me." Lin also saw today that Xiao Chen's youtiao stall had an endless stream of customers. It didn't look like it couldn't sell. "Oh, 15 yuan. Then you say 15 yuan. It's the same as yesterday as soy milk and the rest are youtiao, right?" Tang Tang could see that since Lin's family also opened a stall on the morning market street, they must not be rich. She would take care of them if she could. After that, she began to fill a bowl of soy milk for Lin. However, the amount of soy milk was about the same as yesterday, more than 2 bowls. She also gave a lot more youtiao. After filling it, Tang Tang pretended to be indifferent and handed it to Lin. "We sell things on the same street. I'll give you a discount next time." "Thank you, sister." Lin breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't know why, after knowing that Xiao Chen didn't need help, Lin still wanted to buy breakfast here every day. Was it because Xiao Chen's cooking was delicious? Lin took the breakfast, thanked her and left quickly. She was afraid that if she left a little later, Xiao Chen would come back. Carrying the youtiao, Lin Ke did not have the slightest bit of joy from yesterday when she had bought a lot. Yesterday she had thought that she was helping Xiao Chen, so she had bought more to help him eliminate his stock, so she did not feel any guilt. However, today was different. Today it was clearly that elder sister who was giving to her. Alas, Kerlin didn't want so much, but she was afraid that her mother would go back and scold her, and would never let her come again. While worrying about gains and losses, Kerlin returned to her family's noodle stall. Ah, you bought so much again? Does this stall make money? If we sell noodle like this, we will lose a lot of money. Mrs. Lin took the youtiao from Kerlin's hand and happily asked Lin Dongliang to eat it, not noticing the helplessness in Kerlin's eyes. Kerlin moved a stool, sat in front of the stall, and ate the youtiao and soy milk with her parents in silence. It was delicious. She didn't expect that Xiao Chen could make such delicious food. Could you buy it every day? We don't eat noodle anymore. I'm sick of eating it every day. It's not much expensive and it's delicious. Mrs. Lin was also addicted to it, thinking it was much better than eating noodle every day. Mom? He gave me so much to take care of me because I also run a stall in the market. I don't want to buy it every day. How can I do that? Kerlin finally couldn't help it. She thought that if she went every day she would not help Xiao Chen but take advantage of him. You are such a prodigal child. What's there to be embarrassed about? I'm not asking you to beg. You are buying it with money. We are in the same market. If you take care of it today, can you not take care of it tomorrow? At most you won't make any money. You tell him that the next time he comes to our house to eat noodle, we will also give him the cost price. Mrs. Lin said as if it was a matter of course. She was addicted to it. How could she not eat it? Kerlin pursed her mouth, but how could she dare to talk back to her mother? Sure enough, not long after Kerlin left, Xiao Chen came back. Seeing that the youtiao was almost sold out, he fried it again. By the way, yesterday the girl whose family also runs a stall here came to buy youtiao again. 15 yuan, I still gave her the same amount as yesterday. Oh, it doesn't matter. We are all in the same market. You decide. Xiao Chen didn't care about this kind of thing at all. After selling for a while, they were about to close the stall and leave for school. Today was the day the results were announced. The exams for the third year of high school were very frequent. It was impossible for the teacher to announce the results one by one solemnly every time. They would distribute the papers and then there would be a big list of their age ranking. At this time, those who could study would study hard. Those who didn't like to study would usually find a way out for their families. Anyway, although the number 2 middle school was not as good as the number 1 middle school, there were many rich people in it. This time Xiao Chen got the 10th place in the grade while Tang Tang got the 6th place. To Xiao Chen's surprise, the young lady was actually the 3rd place in the grade. He usually didn't watch the young lady study, but she was still among the best. It seemed that she had some real skills and was not a pure arrogant and brainless goddess. As for Jean Beibei, her name couldn't be found in the top 100. He only found her in the class list. Her results were very bad and she was in the bottom 10. Chapter 112. However, Xiao Chen knew that Jean Beibei was very smart, and her mind was probably not in the right place. Anyway, as a young lady of an aristocratic family, it did not matter whether her studies were good or not. She would marry after all. Aristocratic families did not care about studies, but who could bring more benefits to the family. Lu Zhiming's results were cancelled and he was very depressed. As a new member of an aristocratic family, he cared about his exam results very much. Because of the nature of his family, it was difficult for him to enter the upper class. Therefore, Lu Siwen had always wanted Lu Zhiming to be successful in his studies. At least he could be regarded as a cultured person. Well done, Xiao Chen. I didn't expect that you could get a scholarship of 1,000 yuan after studying for a few days. Tang Tang took over Xiao Chen's test paper, but she suddenly frowned. Hey Xiao Chen, what's wrong with you? Why are the multiple choice questions still blank? Even if you don't know how to do it, you might get it wrong by randomly choosing one, right? Hehe, I didn't write it on purpose. If the results are too good, it will easily attract some unnecessary attention. That's enough. Xiao Chen had given up the idea of using exams to make money. His current money should be able to support him for a while as long as the drugstore did not cheat him. Today's class was all about explaining the exam papers. The morning passed quickly. At noon, Jing Xiaoquan turned his head and said to Xiao Chen, did you really go to Lu Zhiming's boxing field to fight yesterday? Yes, and I won. Xiao Chen nodded. Damn, how much did you win? Jing Xiaoquan was stunned. In his opinion, with Lu Zhiming's character, it would be good if he did not find someone to beat Xiao Chen to death, let alone let Xiao Chen win money. 1 million. Xiao Chen did not fool Jing Xiaoquan anymore but said directly. 1 million. My God. Jing Xiaoquan's eyes widened, and his expression was the same as Tang Tang's before. Why do I feel it is so unrealistic? Is Lu Jinming so generous? That boxing arena is the Lu family gang. It's probably because the great boxing masters aren't here, and the person I'm fighting is too weak. Originally, Lu Jinming didn't want me to fight, but I insisted, so he reluctantly agreed. In the end I won, Xiao Qin said. He didn't explain too many details. Lu Jinming naturally wouldn't say these things. So that's how it is. No wonder he stopped you because he didn't have the confidence. But he's really unlucky. Jing Xiaoquan nodded in realization. But Xiao Qin, you're lucky this time. Next time, forget it. You don't know that kid, he's very sinister. A family that plays with the underworld is different from a normal family. Yes, I know. Xiao Qin couldn't help but smile bitterly. A normal family was probably not as good as a family that played with the underworld. At least, what Lu Jinming wanted to do, he was straightforward. But now Xiao Qin had not figured out which family was the other group of people who wanted to deal with him. At noon, the three casually ate something in the cafeteria and returned to the classroom. Lu Jinming and Yu Xiaochuan didn't invite Xiao Qin to eat again. It seemed that they had stopped. Until school ended in the evening, no one looked for trouble with Xiao Qin. Although Tang Tang, Jing Xiaoquan, and Lu Jinming all knew Xiao Qin's identity, except for Tang Tang, others didn't know the relationship between him and Qing Menjing. So he didn't take Qing Menjing's car back, but still chose to walk. When he got home, he saw Qing Menjing sitting alone on the sofa in the living room. When she saw Xiao Qin coming back, she said angrily, "Hey, I sent you a text message. Why didn't you come back with me? I'm afraid that it'll be a bad influence. Besides, didn't you say that you don't want me to go to and from school with you?" Xiao Qin shrugged. "I changed my mind, okay? I'm starving. You go and cook." Qing Menjing thought of the delicious food last night. The lunch in the cafeteria was tasteless. "Ah, okay." Xiao Qin nodded. It turned out that the miss was in a hurry to eat. Today there was only Qing Menjing. Jean Bebe was not there, so Xiao Qin didn't cook too much. He made 3 dishes and it was enough. All the ingredients he bought yesterday had been used up. After the dishes were set on the table, Xiao Qin asked Qing Menjing to come to eat. Qing Menjing was still watching the TV series called School Bell's Bodyguard. She was fascinated by it. When she saw Xiao Qin, she pointed it out to him. "Hey, look, in that TV series Miss Minyao's bodyguard is also very powerful. But he not only knows how to cook, but also has great kung fu. You have to work hard or I'll replace you." That's all in the TV series. How can such a powerful person be a bodyguard? Xiao Qin glanced at it and said, "Why not? Can't he like Miss? I am under the orders of the eldest Miss's father to pursue the eldest Miss." Qing Menjing said in a serious manner. "Does Uncle Qing want me to pursue you?" Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. "If you're so powerful, I'll consider it." Qing Menjing didn't expect Xiao Qin to become so powerful, so she didn't feel any pressure when she said that. Anyway, her intention was to show how good Lin Yi's bodyguard was in the TV series and how bad Xiao Qin was, so that he could improve himself. "Is that so?" Xiao Qin's heart skipped a beat. "Okay, let's eat. I'm hungry." Qing Menjing saw that Xiao Qin asked this and her face was a little hot. She quickly changed the topic. "Oh right, help me pay attention to the author Fishman 2's public Weixin platform. Search for Fishman 2's verified number or Urine 22. I want to ask him if he really has such a powerful bodyguard. Is he writing about real people and things? If he does, I'll send you for training." Damn, I still need training. Xiao Qin didn't expect Miss to take it seriously. However, if he really became powerful, would Miss let him pursue her? Xiao Qin felt a little strange just thinking about it. I hate Fishman too. Looking for trouble for no reason, Xiao Qin thought. Fortunately, in front of delicious food, Miss quickly forgot about Fishman 2's school beauty's personal expert, and began to eat with relish. The feeling of no one fighting with me is really great. Qing Menjing saw that Xiao Qin didn't eat much and she was very satisfied. Sweat. You can eat enough. I haven't eaten yet and more than half of it is gone. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. Hey, what do you mean? Do you think I can eat? Qing Menjing glared at Xiao Qin. It's your honor that I eat what you cook. Xiao Qin nodded. After eating, Miss went upstairs. Xiao Qin continued to practice in the room. Today was the last day of using this medicine. If he didn't break through, Xiao Qin still had to buy medicine tomorrow. This made him very distressed, although he already had millions of assets. Elder Heaven Ancestor, if this medicine doesn't work today, can it be used again tomorrow? Xiao Qin asked. Yes, but it won't have any effect. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Isn't that the same as not saying anything? Xiaochen was really speechless. That's the same as asking nonsense. Elder Heaven Ancestor also said. Xiaochen brewed the medicine and sealed all the dregs. This was a holy medicine for martial artists to heal injuries. Maybe one day he could sell it for a high price. However, what disappointed Xiaochen was that after drinking the third pot of medicinal soup, although Xiaochen's body was greasy and black from the training, he didn't level up and break through. After taking a bath, it was time to see if he could break through the barrier at night. If he couldn't, Xiaochen could only buy more medicine tomorrow. In fact, Xiaochen's current speed of leveling up was very amazing. Less than half a month after leaving home, Xiaochen's strength was already comparable to that of a martial artist at the peak of stage 3 of internal force. In the wee hours of the morning, Xiaochen stopped his cultivation and stopped the circulation of the mantra. Unfortunately, Xiaochen did not break through. He felt that there was still a short distance to go before he could break through. It did not mean that he could break through immediately. He had not even touched the barrier yet. Phew. Xiaochen sighed. The previous speed of leveling up was too fast, which caused Xiaochen to be dissatisfied. In fact, if he thought about it carefully, he already had such strength, so what if he waited for a while? After cleaning up, Xiaochen ran to the grocery store near the morning street. At the beginning of a new day, Xiaochen and Tang Tang set up a breakfast stand, and the business soon opened. Now, Xiaochen and Tang Tang's youtiao had become a famous snack in the neighborhood. It was reposted and recommended by many people who had bought it in their WeChat moments. Therefore, more and more people came because of its reputation. After eating it, they were all satisfied. Moreover, now these people had figured out the rules of Xiaochen and Tang Tang's stand. They opened the stand in the early morning and closed the stand at about 7 o'clock. They didn't sell more than a moment, so if they wanted to eat, they had to do it early. Of course, they didn't know that Xiaochen and Tang Tang were going to school. They thought they were very arrogant, selling for a few hours every day and not waiting after the expiration. However, the more exaggerated the rumor was, the more people came to eat. People were like this. The things they rushed to buy were good things, and it didn't matter if they could always buy it. Kerlin was still sent by her mother to buy fried dough sticks. Kerlin was a little depressed. She clearly told her mother that she didn't want to take advantage of others, but her mother still asked her to take advantage of others. What should she say? After waiting for a while, Xiaochen went to the toilet. Xiaochen's soup needed to go to the toilet 4 to 5 times a day, and it seemed that he was excreting the waste absorbed in his body. Kerlin took the opportunity to walk over. Although there were still customers on Tang Tang's side, she saw Kerlin at a glance. She didn't wait for Kerlin to speak, but gave her a bowl of soy milk, which was more than 2 servings, and filled it with fried dough sticks, which was more than 20 yuan, and handed it to her. Kerlin didn't expect that Tang Tang would give her these things before she opened her mouth, which made her very moved. She gave the money and said, "Sister, my family has a noodle stand over there, Lin's Noodle. You go there and I will give you a discount. Okay, take care of each other." Tang Tang took the money and smiled. Chapter 113. Originally, some customers were puzzled when they saw that Kerlin had spent 15 yuan to buy so many things, but they understood after listening to her. It turned out that they were all in the same market, so there was no way to do it. After Kerlin left, Xiaochen came back soon. He was busy for a while before he stopped. Youtiao, honey fruit, sesame balls, and fried dough twists were almost enough to sell for today. He was relieved and began to help Tang Tang sell the goods. "By the way, Xiaochen, do you want to eat something?" Tang Tang saw that Xiaochen was idle, so she said to him, "I don't want to eat. Let's talk about it after the stall is closed." Xiaochen shook his head. "I can sell it by myself. It's useless for you to be here." Tang Tang suddenly thought of something and said, "Yes, it's the little girl who often buys youtiao and soy milk at our house. She invited us to her house to eat noodles. Why don't you go? I give her a discount every day. The little girl is too embarrassed. She asked us to go to her house and give us a discount. I'm afraid that if we don't go, she will be embarrassed to come next time." Listening to Tang Tang's words, Xiaochen nodded and said, "Okay, then I'll go and eat a bowl." "What's the name?" Since Tang Tang said so, Xiaochen also planned to eat a bowl. Anyway, he ate the leftover youtiao every morning. It was good to change his taste occasionally. He hadn't eaten noodles yet and he wanted to try what it tasted like. "It's inside Lin's Noodles." Tang Tang said, "By the way, it's opened by a junior sister's family in number 1 middle school. Weren't you in number 1 middle school before? Maybe you can know her." "Me? Eh." Xiaochen couldn't help but smile bitterly. "How could I know her? It's more like others know me. However, now that I look so down and out, it's estimated that few people will come out unless it's someone familiar. Xiao Qin casually took out 10 yuan from the money box and walked towards the direction of the morning market. The morning market street was very long. Xiao Qin was looking for Lin's noodles, as he looked around to see what was being sold. Last time when he bought the mask and SIM card, he was in too much of a hurry, so he didn't have time to take a good look. While Xiao Qin was searching, he suddenly saw a group of onlookers not far in front of him. He didn't know what was going on, but Xiao Qin initially didn't think much of it because there were also some performers in the morning market, so it was normal for people to surround them. However, Xiao Qin's eyes were sharp, and when he saw the small colored flag hanging in the middle of the square with the words Lin Ji's board written on it, Xiao Qin knew that this was the place he was looking for. What's going on here? If it were any other place, Xiao Qin would be too lazy to be a busybody, but today he came to Lin Ji's board, so Xiao Qin quickly walked over and wanted to see what was going on. However, when Xiao Qin approached, he was suddenly stunned. Because, surrounded by the crowd in front of Lin Ji's stall, he unexpectedly saw two familiar people. One of them was actually Lin from No. 1 Middle School. Xiao Qin never thought that he could meet her here. Lin Ji's board, could it be Lin's family? Xiao Qin used to know that Lin's family wasn't rich, and her parents were running a small business, but he didn't care about the specifics. Now it seemed that she was selling board noodles in the morning market street. However, why would Lin come to my own breakfast stall to buy breakfast? Moreover, why wasn't I here every time she came to buy? That's not right. The first time she came I was here, but I didn't turn around to look. Did Lin see me? Xiao Qin wasn't sure. After all, things were too coincidental. However, now that he saw that this was Lin's stall, Xiao Qin wasn't in a hurry to go forward. He wanted to see what was going on first. After all, if Xiao Qin went forward at this time, it would definitely be very awkward. There was another familiar person in the scene. It was the red-haired guy who said he had a Porsche at the entrance of the cafe that day. Fake money? How could I spend fake money? Look at how rich I am. This leather jacket is a nouveau riche gold. This gold chain is very thick. This car key is a Porsche. These big leather boots are made of American crocodile skin. This phone is an Apple 8th generation. How could I spend fake money? The red-haired guy patted his clothes angrily and shouted at Lin. Everyone be the judge. Who am I? I'm a nouveau riche. Do you think I lack money? If I don't lack money, why would I spend fake money? Are you kidding me? Are you trying to blackmail me? Little girl, don't speak without thinking. Even if you're trying to blackmail someone, you shouldn't have found a good target. Hurry up and give me the change. Don't waste my time. You just gave me money. I didn't even take it away and I found out it was fake. How am I blackmailing you? Lin was about to cry. She looked at the red-haired guy and said weakly, That's right. My daughter hasn't left yet. How can I change your money into fake money? It's clearly your own. Mother Lin put her hands on her waist and said unhappily, Let me tell you, don't think that my family is easy to bully. Shouting? Is this a mother-daughter battle together? Was that cripple going to come along as well? Everyone look. Are you bullying me with numbers? The red-haired guy shouted. What's going on? Xiao Qin had seen most of it, but he didn't understand the cause. Hence, he turned around and asked an old man beside him. Sai, I met a local ruffian. He spends fake money in such a justified manner. The old man said indignantly, I know this red-haired guy. He always spends fake money in the morning market. Sometimes he gets caught and sometimes he doesn't. Even when he gets caught, he acts righteously. Many stall owners choose to keep the peace. If you insist on going against him, he will definitely find a bunch of ruffians to deal with you the next day. Is there no one to testify? Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. Testify? We are already in our 70s or 80s. If those ruffians secretly take revenge on us, we might lose our lives. Who dares to provoke them? They are all gangsters. The old man shook his head helplessly. Xiao Qin looked at the other people present. Indeed, many of them showed angry expressions, but they didn't dare to say anything. Obviously, this red-haired guy was a bully of this generation. This kind of people actually existed in many markets. Some swindled people and some blatantly collected protection fees. These poor people had no choice but to be forced by violence. They could only silently endure it. At this time, a stall owner who was familiar with them came over and pulled Lin's mother. He whispered, Sister-in-law Lin, please keep the peace. We can't afford to offend these ruffians. Although Mother Lin was shrewish, she wasn't an idiot. When she saw Redhead's overbearing attitude, She recalled the rumor that a few hawkers in the morning market were beaten to a pulp by the delinquents and almost couldn't continue their business anymore. However, $100 might not be much to other families, but to Lin Ker's family it was a lot. They had worked hard for the entire morning, and could only earn around $200. Excluding the money used to buy medicine for Lin Dongliang, there was basically nothing left. Mother Lin looked at the red-haired guy's fierce eyes and sighed. At this time Lin Dongliang had already cooked a bowl of noodles and was about to serve it to the red-haired guy. When Kerlin didn't accept the money, he started making the noodles after the red-haired guy ordered them. Xiaochen took a deep breath and walked over. Even if this person wasn't Kerlin, Xiaochen wouldn't just stand by and watch. Although he was a playboy on the surface, he was a very compassionate person. Now that the person being bullied was Kerlin, Xiaochen couldn't bear it anymore. It wasn't that Xiaochen liked Kerlin a lot, but Kerlin's soft and weak appearance always made Xiaochen want to protect her. The first time he helped her, it was also because of Xiaochen's sympathy for her. Of course, he still had a good impression of her. Who didn't like beautiful women? Moreover, she was a beauty at the school level. You said that this money isn't yours? Xiaochen walked over and stared coldly at the red-haired guy. Damn it, who are you? Brat, don't meddle in other people's business and get yourself into trouble. The red-haired guy saw that Mother Lin was about to give in, but he didn't expect that someone would come out of nowhere. This made him very angry and he glared at Xiaochen with a murderous look. Kerlin looked at the sudden appearance of Xiaochen. Her eyes widened and she covered her mouth. She didn't expect that Xiaochen would actually come and help her. It was just like when she was bullied by the school bully. Let me ask you, is this money yours? In Xiaochen's eyes, a red-haired guy was nothing. Even the underworld's young master, Lu Jinming, was taught a lesson by him, let alone a hooligan. What does it have to do with you? Of course it's not mine. The red-haired guy saw that Xiaochen's physique wasn't weak and he was alone, so he didn't dare to offend Xiaochen too much. He just had to bite the bullet and not admit it. What if I say it's yours? Xiaochen asked indifferently. What proof do you have? The red-haired guy frowned. I'm not the police, so what proof do I need? If I say it's yours, then it's yours. Xiaochen looked at the red-haired guy with a smile that wasn't a smile. If one were to talk about being unreasonable, then Xiaochen was the ancestor of being unreasonable in the past. Damn it, are you crazy? The red-haired guy didn't expect that someone would suddenly appear to oppose him, and it made him very angry. What does it have to do with you? I'll give you a chance to exchange it for real money. Xiaochen's tone was still very indifferent. You're crazy? The moment the red-haired guy said these 3 words, he suddenly exclaimed because he saw a bowl of noodles suddenly appear on his head. However, before he could stop his exclamation, he heard a "pu" sound. The bowl of noodles was directly placed on Redhead's head, covering his red hair directly. Because the bowl of noodles was made of melamine, it was slightly tough, and the size of the bowl was about the same as the red-haired guy's head. Plus, Xiaochen's speed was fast, so the bowl directly covered the red-haired guy's head. The noodles and soup inside didn't spill out. Chapter 114. Ouch! The red-haired guy screamed in agony. The scalding noodles burned his scalp. He wanted to pull the bowl out, but the bowl was right on top of his head. He couldn't pull it out at all. The red-haired guy jumped back and forth on the ground. Fortunately, the soup wasn't boiling. After screaming for a while, the red-haired guy got used to it. He looked at Xiaochen with resentment and wanted to remember Xiaochen's appearance. Then he turned around and wanted to leave quickly. However, before he could leave, he was pulled back by Xiaochen. What are you doing? You want to leave just like that? Xiaochen grabbed the red-haired guy's collar and pressed him onto the stool again. Everyone present was dumbfounded. They didn't expect Xiaochen to be so ruthless. Not only that, but he also wanted to pull the red-haired guy back to teach him a lesson. What else do you want? The red-haired guy struggled twice, but he didn't expect Xiaochen to be so strong. This time he suddenly lost his confidence. The bad were afraid of the ruthless and Xiaochen was ruthless. Don't you want to eat noodles? Are you leaving now? Xiaochen said faintly, if you don't want to eat then leave. Are you messing with me? Looking at Xiaochen's cold gaze, the red-haired guy's heart was filled with resentment, but he still said carefully, Of course I want to eat. He was afraid that if he refused, Xiaochen would punish him again. Uncle Lin, prepare a bowl of noodles for him. Xiaochen said to Lin Dongliang. Okay. Lin Dongliang was a little dumbfounded. He didn't know where Xiaochen came from, but he only knew that Xiaochen was more ruthless than the red-haired guy. He couldn't afford to offend him, so he quickly went to cook the noodles. Xiao Chen. Forget it. Forget it. Kerlin didn't expect Xiao Chen to stand up for her. If it was before, it would be fine if Xiao Chen was the young master of the Xiao family. As long as these punks heard of Xiao Chen's background, they would be scared witless. But now, wasn't he afraid of revenge? Forget it? Bullying people is my hobby. How can I forget it? Xiao Chen said indifferently. At this time, Lin Dongliang just finished cooking the noodles and brought it over, but Xiao Chen took it. Then he took the ladle from the chili bucket and scooped 3 spoonfuls of chili into the noodles. Then he placed it in front of the red-haired guy and said, "Eat it." The red-haired guy thought that eating a bowl of noodles would be enough. He didn't expect Xiao Chen to add so much chili. How could he eat it? Usually, people who could eat spicy food would only add a small spoonful of chili. Xiao Chen added 3 spoonfuls. Wasn't it so spicy that smoke was coming out? What? Didn't you want to eat noodles? Not eating anymore? Are you kidding me? I think you are asking for a beating. As Xiao Chen said this, he didn't hold back and directly slapped the bowl on the red-haired guy's head. It almost gave the red-haired guy a concussion. I will eat now, the red-haired guy said with a bitter face. He could see that the person in front of him didn't consider the consequences. He would hit the most uncomfortable way. Without a choice, the red-haired guy could only pick up the chopsticks and close his eyes to eat the spicy noodles. He only took a bite and was panting from the spiciness. However, when he saw Xiao Chen's indifferent gaze, the red-haired guy could only continue eating. When he finally finished the noodles, the red-haired guy raised his head and said carefully, "Now, is it okay? Why aren't you drinking the soup?" Xiao Chen frowned. What? You think it's not good? Do you want me to help you? As he said this, Xiao Chen was about to pick up the soup bowl. I will drink. The red-haired guy was shocked. He was afraid that Xiao Chen would smash the bowl on his face. If the chili got into his eyes, he wouldn't be able to live. Then hurry up. Don't waste time. Xiao Chen said impatiently. The red-haired guy looked at the red bowl of chili soup in front of him with tears in his eyes. He clenched his teeth, picked it up and gulped it down. However, he only drank half of it and couldn't drink any more. Just as he was about to put it down, he didn't expect a big hand to reach over and press on the bottom of the bowl. The other hand directly pinched his cheek. The remaining half of the chili soup, along with the chili inside, was poured into the red-haired guy's throat. Cough, 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 cough. When Xiao Chen released his hand, the red-haired guy's face turned red. Coupled with the big green bowl on his head looked like a huge chili pepper. The overbearing spiciness made him cough violently. He couldn't even breathe. He coughed on the ground for a long time and coughed out a pile of red phlegm. It was unknown whether it was the chili soup or his throat that was bleeding from the spiciness. However, even so, the surrounding audience didn't sympathize with the red-haired guy. This matter was originally the red-haired guy's fault. These people didn't dare to say anything before, but now that someone came out to uphold justice, they were naturally happy to see it. I can go now, the red-haired guy said intermittently while gasping for breath. However, he was secretly determined to teach this young man in front of him a lesson. He wanted to remember Xiao Chen's appearance. You can leave after paying for the noodles, Xiao Chen said. Okay. The red-haired guy didn't argue this time. He opened his wallet, took out 10 yuan and handed it to Xiao Chen. It's not enough, Xiao Chen said. Isn't a bowl of noodles 8 yuan? The red-haired guy's face stiffened. You can't be trying to extort me, right? Isn't the bowl on your head noodles? Xiao Chen asked. Okay. The red-haired guy took out another 10 yuan and handed it to Xiao Chen. There's something extra for the second bowl. Don't you know? Xiao Chen snorted coldly. Something extra? The red-haired guy was stunned. I added 3 spoonfuls of chili, 10 yuan per spoon, Xiao Chen said. The red-haired guy almost cried. Damn, I'm dying from the spiciness and you still want my chili money? However, looking at Xiao Chen's expression, if he didn't pay, it wouldn't be as simple as 3 spoonfuls of chili. The red-haired guy handed Xiao Chen another 30 yuan and asked with a bitter face, Is it okay now? Okay. The takeout on your head came with a bowl. Don't you need to pay a deposit? If you run away, who do I care about? Xiao Chen pointed at the bowl of noodles on the red-haired guy's head. The red-haired guy was about to collapse. Bro, just tell me how much you want. Give me another 50 yuan. Return the bowl to me tomorrow and I'll return it to you, Xiao Chen said. Okay. The red-haired guy thought, who knows where you will go tomorrow? Where can I find you to return the bowl? Moreover, if I find you, I'll kill you and return the bowl. The red-haired guy will definitely take revenge. The red-haired guy took out another 50 yuan and handed it to Xiao Chen. Then he didn't wait for Xiao Chen to speak and left. Even though Xiao Chen tortured the red-haired guy to such a sorry state, when the red-haired guy left, the surrounding crowd still made way for him. Xiao Chen wasn't afraid of the red-haired guy, but they couldn't afford to offend him. The red-haired guy felt wronged and angry at the same time. Originally he was going to scam money, but who knew that such a ruthless person would appear? He was simply a maniac who wasn't threatened by him. How unlucky. He wanted to find a public toilet and remove the bowl on his head. Xiao Chen. Thank you. Kerlin saw the red-haired guy leave and let out a sigh of relief. However, she was still worried about Xiao Chen. She was afraid that the red-haired guy would find someone to take revenge on him. Hurry up and leave. What if he comes back? When Mother Lin heard Kerlin's words, she knew that her daughter knew the person in front of her. However, looking at the way Xiao Chen dressed, he didn't look like a rich person. This brat must have taken a fancy to her daughter's beauty and came to court her. However, Mother Lin didn't like Xiao Chen. She was hoping that her beautiful daughter could find a rich husband and change her life. If she found an ordinary person, then wouldn't she have to sell breakfast in the future? Since that was the case, Mother Lin snorted coldly. Why did you let him leave? He beat up that little hooligan. What if that little hooligan comes back? How are we going to deal with him? Mom. Lin Kur didn't expect that not only did her mother not thank her, but she also criticized Xiao Chen. She immediately became a little unhappy. He's my classmate and he's standing up for our family. How could you say that? Hearing that it was her daughter's classmate, Mother Lin knew that she couldn't go overboard. Moreover, she really had to thank Xiao Chen for today's matter. Therefore, she said indifferently, "Young man, thank you. However, you are feeling good now. If that person comes back, it's fine. I'm from the Youqiao stall over there. He came to find me. Just let him go." Xiao Chen smiled and didn't argue with Mother Lin for Kerlin's sake. In fact, he also understood that these ordinary citizens who did small business might not be grateful to you if you helped them because they were afraid of being retaliated. This was also the reason why many people didn't dare to call the police when they were bullied. They were afraid that the hooligans would come back for revenge. You're the Youqiao seller. Mother Lin was a little embarrassed this time. She took advantage of him for 2 days and he still came to help her. They were all in the same market and often met. Auntie's words just now were a little unpleasant, but you should also understand. Auntie is afraid that if you leave, those people will take revenge on Auntie. I understand. Xiao Chen nodded and said, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. This is the money that Redhead gave me. With that said, Xiao Chen put the 100 yuan that Redhead gave on the table. He nodded to Kerlin and quickly left. Kerlin opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but Xiao Chen had already walked far away. In her heart, she suddenly felt a little conflicted. She had been conflicted. If Xiao Chen asked her why she went to buy Youqiao, how should she answer? If Xiao Chen mentioned that she said that he could pursue her, how should she respond? However, Xiao Chen didn't even ask and just left. Kerlin's heart was indescribably disappointed. Looking at Xiao Chen's back, she suddenly felt that Xiao Chen had really changed. He was no longer the Xiao Chen in her memory. This Xiao Chen suddenly made her feel a little unfamiliar. Chapter 115. Mother Lin put away the 100 yuan on the table and looked at Kerlin, who was in a daze. She immediately scolded, "Stupid girl, are you interested in him?" No. Kerlin's face turned red and she quickly shook her head. "Humph, I'm telling you, absolutely not. I definitely won't agree to this kind of boy who only has a bit of brute force and no money. You better give up on this idea as soon as possible." Mother Lin glared at Kerlin and warned. "Oh." Kerlin nodded woodenly and started to pack up. Redhead entered a public restroom and spent a lot of effort to remove the noodle bowl from his head. Then he used the tap water to wash away the noodle soup on his head. As for this broken bowl, Redhead didn't even think about returning it. Xiao Chen was obviously cheating him, so how could he refund the deposit? Moreover, even if he found Xiao Chen, it wouldn't be as simple as returning the bowl. He would kill him. Not to mention that he didn't spend the fake money, he even lost 100 yuan in real money. Redhead was very depressed. After leaving the public restroom, he once again looked for his next target. A thief never leaves empty-handed. As a swindler, he had the same logic. If he went back without making a profit, he would be very unhappy. Of course, if he wanted to make a move again, he couldn't choose a place that was too close to the previous one. After such a big incident, the small merchants and peddlers nearby also came to watch the show. If he went to swindle them again, it wouldn't be easy for him to succeed. Everyone was on guard against him, so who could be swindled? He prepared to find a place further away to make his move. After walking for a distance, he suddenly found a stall selling youtiao. There were many people here, and there was an endless stream of people eating. Moreover, there was only one person there. According to Redhead's past experience, this was the best place to make a move. Because in these kinds of popular stalls, the stall owner didn't have time to carefully distinguish the authenticity of the money, so he had the opportunity to take advantage of it. After choosing his target, Redhead pretended as if nothing had happened and went to the youtiao stall. He stood in the middle of the queue, and this youtiao stall was the one that Xiaochen was at. Xiaochen went to eat noodles, leaving Tang Tang alone. When it was Red Hair's turn, he handed Tang Tang 100 yuan. Tang Tang wanted to check if the money was real, but she was interrupted by Red Hair. Which is better, tofu pudding or soybean milk? They're all delicious. The tofu pudding is new in the last 2 days. It's also good. Tang Tang was interrupted by him and forgot to check the authenticity of the money. Oh, give me 5 yuan worth of fried dough sticks and a bowl of tofu pudding. I'll eat here. Red Hair said, just give me change later. Give me food first, I'm starving to death. Okay, wait a moment. A bowl of tofu pudding, Tang Tang said. I'll get it for him. You continue to serve the others. As Xiaochen said this, he went to get a bowl of tofu pudding for Red Hair, but he directly poured half a can of chili powder into it. Then he directly put it in front of Red Hair. I saw that you like to eat chili, so I specially made a bowl of added ingredients for you. You don't have to thank me. Eat it. Eat more? Red Hair almost cried. Those chili peppers had almost killed him. If he were to eat these, he would have a stomach bleed. However, he could not eat it. It would be even more uncomfortable if Xiaochen forced it into his mouth. Red Hair had no choice but to pinch his nose and eat it. His original intention was to pretend to eat a few bites and then leave, but now he had no choice but to eat seriously. However, he just ate a bowl of noodles before. How could he have such a big appetite? Now he was forcing it into his mouth. You seem to have a big appetite. I can give you another bowl of soy milk for free. As Xiaochen said this, he filled another bowl of soy milk for Red Hair and put it aside. Then he added 2 spoonfuls of chili oil. Red Hair looked at such a big bowl of red soy milk and almost vomited. If I pour it into my mouth, will it come back out directly from my throat? Originally, Red Hair wanted to sneak away after eating half, but who would have thought that when he looked up, he could see Xiaochen's smiling devil's face. So, he could only lower his head and force himself to pour it into his mouth. When he finally finished eating, Red Hair forced himself not to vomit. He was afraid that if he vomited, Xiaochen would find an excuse to mess with him again. He could only cover his mouth and take out 100 yuan from his wallet. He put it on the table and turned to leave. However, he was pulled back by Xiaochen before he could take 2 steps. Big brother. Is there anything else? Red Hair raised his head, afraid that he would vomit on Xiaochen. Your change. Xiaochen said. No. No need. Goodbye. Red Hair turned around and left. Xiaochen saw that Red Hair was on the verge of vomiting. He was afraid that Red Hair would vomit here, so he didn't make it difficult for him. Sure enough, Red Hair didn't walk far before he squatted on the side of the road and vomited. Red and white things spurted out. One was because of the spiciness and the other was because he ate too much, so it was overflowing. You who sold youtiao, just you wait. Wah, if I don't mess with you, I won't be Red Hair. Red Hair secretly swore in his heart while vomiting. After Red Hair left, Tang Tang looked at Xiaochen strangely. How do you know him? How do you know that he spent fake money? I was almost fooled by him. I was going to eat noodles just now and I saw him using fake money to cheat people. Xiaochen said as he began to pack up. It was almost time to go to school. Is he the one who cheated the noodles? Tang Tang didn't expect it to be so coincidental. That's the one. Xiaochen nodded. That Lin's noodles was opened by my former classmate, Lin. I used to pursue her and it made me quite embarrassed. No way? I was wondering why she didn't see you even once after coming here several times. Is she deliberately avoiding you? Tang Tang was a little surprised. You pursued her? But she is indeed very beautiful and she is not weaker than your goddess, but the difference between your backgrounds? Actually, it's just a joke. Xiaochen said that he saved Lin once, and then he was afraid that others would harass her, so he deliberately said that he wanted to pursue her. Turns out to be like this. In that case, Lin is grateful to you. I know. She must have seen you selling youtiao here, and then she thought that you were living in poverty. She wanted to buy some to help you the day before yesterday, but she didn't expect our youtiao to be so delicious. After she went back, her mother asked her to continue to buy more. Tang Tang suddenly thought of the key. The day before yesterday she thought our youtiao couldn't be sold, so we gave her more. She didn't feel anything, but it was different yesterday and today. I say, but after such an incident she probably won't come again? Xiao Qin shook his head. Although Xiao Qin still had a trace of affection for Kerlin in his heart, it was just appreciation for a beauty. Now his life was gradually drifting away from her, and there would be no more intersection. What? Xiao Qin, listening to your tone you sound a little disappointed? Tang Tang teased. Chapter 116. I don't think so. If I were the old Xiao Qin, it would be possible for me to pursue her. But now, I'm still living under someone else's roof. If I get a girlfriend, where will I live? Xiao Qin shrugged and said. I say, young Master Xiao, your thoughts are not pure. Do you want to live with a girlfriend? Tang Tang joked after listening. Xiao Qin's face suddenly turned red. He was just influenced by others and thought that he should live with a girlfriend. But in fact he was still a virgin. I just said it casually. Would you believe it if I said that I have never had a girlfriend before? Who would believe it? I have heard of your reputation from far away, Xiao Qin. Tang Tang curled her lips. Obviously she did not believe Xiao Qin's words. Xiao Qin was a little speechless. Was his image that bad before? It seemed that his disguise was quite successful. But, why did someone still target him after he succeeded? Lu Zhiming was not a big deal in Xiao Qin's eyes. What troubled Xiao Qin most was that invisible big hand. Was it a person, a group of people, or an organization? Was it a coincidence that his father disappeared, or was there something related to it? As soon as he arrived at the school, Xiao Qin received a text message from Miss Jean. Jingxian and Qin Jinping will come to ask me and Beibei to go out to play tonight. Will you come? Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. Qin Jinping had just been tricked. Did he come to ask for trouble again? However, it did not matter whether he went or not. Qin Jinping could not do anything to Miss Jean and Beibei. Instead, Xiao Qin was very worried about Qin Jinping's safety. I won't go, Xiao Qin replied. He planned to go to the pharmacy to buy medicine tonight. Soon Miss Jin's text message came again. Beibei said that he wants you to go back with him tonight. His grandpa is looking for you. Old Master Jean is looking for me? Xiao Qin suddenly remembered that he had promised Old Master Jean to treat him. He was so busy at home that he forgot about it. However, since he had promised, he had to do it. So he replied, okay, but I have to go home to get some medicine first. As soon as Xiao Qin pressed the send button, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and found it was Qin Jinping. It surprised Xiao Qin a little, but he still picked up the phone. Little brother, what do you want to talk to your boss? Here's the thing. My new boss, Chao Yuliang, is going to invite you, my old boss, to dinner tonight. Jingxian is going too. She also invited Qing Minjing and Jean Beibei. Do you want to come with us? Chow Liang? Does this guy feel that he has lost his face in front of Xin Jingxian after being tricked by Jean Beibei last time? So, he invites Chao Yuliang to humiliate me tonight. However, Xiao Qin had planned to go. Now that Qin Jinping invited him, he was not in a hurry to agree. Instead, he said, Pengzi, I have to make money tonight. You know, I'm very short of money now. Qing Minjing doesn't pay me. I have to make money by myself. I plan to go to the night market tonight. Qin Jinping didn't expect that Xiao Qin would say so. He had given Xiao Qin enough face on the phone before. According to Xiao Qin's arrogant character, he would definitely agree. Unexpectedly, he wanted to set up a stall. It seemed that time was a butcher's knife. Even the most awesome child had to lower his head in the face of poverty. If he had seen Xiao Qin lower his head in the past, he would have been very happy. But today it was Chao Yuliang who ordered him to invite Xiao Qin. If he couldn't accomplish the task, how could he explain it to Chao Yuliang? Last time, when Qin Jinping lost his car and went back in Chao Yuliang's car, they talked about Xiao Qin on the way back. When they mentioned that Xiao Qin came to dinner with Qing Minjing, Qin Jinping said that Xiao Qin was living in his own fantasy and was fooled by Jean Beibei. Chao Yuliang didn't take it seriously. However, after Chao Yuliang went back, he felt that something was wrong the more he thought about it. Jean Beibei was famous for being mean to the childs of the aristocratic families. How could she be in the mood to fool around with Xiao Qin? If she were to fool around with Xiao Qin, she would have killed Xiao Qin a long time ago. Just like Qin Jinping, he lost his car after one dinner, but Xiao Qin was still intact? Of course, Chao Yuliang couldn't rule out the possibility that Jean Beibei wanted to keep Xiao Qin around for fun. However, Qiao Yuliang just couldn't be reassured. He wanted to personally invite Xiao Chen and Jean Beibei out to take a look. He wanted to see if Jean Beibei was really fooling around with Xiao Chen or if there was something fishy going on between the two of them. Pengzi, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. I just finished the morning market and have to go to class. Xiao Chen said impatiently. Wait. How could Qin Jinping let Xiao Chen hang up? He said hurriedly, Xiao Chen, how much money can you make in the night market? Oh, when it's good, it should be around 100,000 or 80,000 yuan, right? Xiao Chen said, 100,000 or 80,000 yuan. Qin Jinping was stunned. How could he make so much money? But then he realized that Xiao Chen wanted to trick him. Damn it. This guy has been with Jean Beibei for a long time. Although he didn't learn anything else, he was quite good at tricking people. Xiao Chen, 80,000 or 80,000 yuan in the night market. That's not impossible. For example, the youqiao I made was delicious and a rich person ate it. It's very possible that he would tip me 100 or 80,000. Xiao Chen said seriously. Qin Jinping's mouth twitched. Tipped you? Do you want me to vote for you once more? Qin Jinping had been reading a novel called Campus Belle's Bodyguard these days, so he knew about tipping and monthly tickets. But he couldn't say it. If he said it, Xiao Chen would be angry and stop coming and he would be screwed. He had no choice but to say, Xiao Chen, why don't you come? I'll give you 100,000 yuan as a gift from me. But you know, if I don't open the stall today, those customers can't find me and they won't come next time. Closing the stall will hurt the customers. Xiao Chen said in a bitter tone. How about 150,000 yuan? Qin Jinping curled his lips and thought, now Xiao Chen is so down and out. 150,000 yuan is not a small amount, but it's nothing for Xiao Chen in the past. Okay, I'll do you a favor. I'll ask Tang Tang to open the stall, and I'll earn some appearance fees. Xiao Chen said reluctantly. Damn it. If Tang Tang goes to open the stall, how can you hurt the customers? Appearance fees? Do you think you're a big star? But since Xiao Chen agreed to come, Qin Jinping didn't want to make trouble, so he just said, see you tonight. Will you come with Cheng Menjing and the others? I'll see, Xiao Chen said. Okay. Xiao Chen, I won't bother you. With that, Qin Jinping hung up the phone, cursed Xiao Chen's treachery and greed, and hurried to report to Qiao Yuliang. The day passed quickly. When school was over, Xiao Chen and Jean Beibei borrowed a car and went home to get the medicine. In fact, they went to the pharmacy to buy some medicinal materials on the way. Anyway, they had to wait for Xin Jingshan and the others at the school gate for a while, so they were not in a hurry. Xiao Chen parked the car in front of the pharmacy and walked into the pharmacy. Hong Yan looked up and saw Xiao Chen wrinkling her nose at him. Obviously, she was on guard against Xiao Chen, who read romance novels, Jinping Mei. Seeing Hong Yan, Xiao Chen didn't have the enthusiasm in the past, and he didn't know what he did to provoke her, but he still said politely, I'm here to buy medicine. Is the old grandpa here? Oh grandpa, someone is looking for me. Hong Yan picked up the book and continued to read, ignoring Xiao Chen. Grandpa Chen came out from the back. Seeing Xiao Chen, he nodded to him. He was used to the frequency of Xiao Chen's visit every 2 or 3 days. What medicine do you want this time? The same medicine as last time, Xiao Chen said. The same medicine as last time, but this time I can't sell it at the same price. It's too cheap and I can't explain it to the boss at the headquarters. Grandpa Chen said, this time I can only give you a 50% discount and charge you 500,000 yuan. What? 500,000 yuan? Xiao Chen was shocked. He thought that the 1.9 million yuan he had could support him for a long time. Who would have thought that a medicine with a 50% discount would cost 500,000 yuan? Next time I probably won't even have a 50% discount, right? Why is it so expensive? It can't be that because I have become a regular customer, you want to slander me, right? Although Xiao Chen felt that this old grandpa looked kind, and he shouldn't be that kind of person, but as the saying goes, you can't judge a book by its cover. However, he had taken care of me many times before. Xiao Chen could not buy it. Even if he wanted to go to other stores to inquire about the price, it was a matter for the future. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen gritted his teeth and took out his bank card. He said to Grandpa Chen, okay, thank you Grandpa Chen. I will pay by card. And Yan Yan, you help him to pay by card. I will get the medicine for him. Grandpa Chen nodded and said, oh. After Hong Yan heard it, she put down the book. She found the POS machine reluctantly and handed it to Xiao Chen. She didn't forget to glare at him. Swipe it. I say, Sister Yan Yan, right? How did I offend you? Xiao Qin swiped the card and finally couldn't help but ask. Who asked you to let me read those dirty books? Hong Yen took back the POS machine and took out the receipt for Xiao Qin to sign. Xiao Qin was stunned. Then he remembered that Hong Yen mentioned Jean Ping Mei, which made him a little speechless. This chick's thoughts are complicated. She treats romance novels as Jean Ping Mei, and she still blames me? When Grandpa Chen heard Hong Yan's words, he couldn't help but laugh. He handed the medicine to Xiao Qin and said, "Young man, it's done. Here you go. And thank you, old grandpa. Then I will leave." Xiao Qin looked at Hong Yan's angry look. He really didn't know how to explain. After leaving the pharmacy, Xiao Qin went straight to the villa. When he returned home, he took some of the previous medicine dregs and put the newly bought medicine into the electric clay pot. After setting the time, he hurriedly left the villa. Chapter 117. However, on the way back to school, Xiao Qin found another pharmacy and planned to inquire about the price. This store also sold all kinds of medicinal materials. Xiao Qin handed the prescription to an old shopkeeper and asked, "Excuse me, do you have all these medicinal materials? Let me take a look." The old man took Xiao Qin's prescription, picked up his reading glasses and looked at it carefully. But after reading it, he shook his head and said, "Who gave you this prescription? I know most of the herbs listed, but there are a few that I've never heard of before. Is there a mistake or is there another name for them?" "What medicinal materials?" Xiao Qin asked quickly. "This is it. Bitter fruit, red sweet flower, water glossy Ganoderma. I have sold medicine for so many years, but I have never heard of these. Could it be that it was prescribed by a wandering doctor?" The old man looked at Xiao Qin suspiciously. "Moreover, the other medicinal materials are also great tonics. They are priceless. At your age, you don't have any diseases or disasters. Why do you want to eat these things?" Xiao Qin sighed in his heart. "I actually don't have them. It seems that the pharmacy I went to isn't an ordinary pharmacy. I didn't expect that I would find the right place. If I went to other pharmacies, I really couldn't buy these things." Looking at the old man's resolute tone, it didn't seem like he was lying. Moreover, there was no need for him to lie. So, Xiao Qin continued to ask, "How much do the other medicinal materials cost?" "I don't have many of the other medicinal materials in stock. Moreover, with your quantity, these medicinal materials cost at least 300,000 yuan. Young man, did you get cheated?" The old man frowned and said, "Listen to me. You don't have to eat these. If you have a problem with your body, find a proper hospital to have a look. Most of those wandering doctors are liars." "Okay, thank you, old man. I was just asking. Now it seems that it's really fake. It's just that my body is a little weak. This is also a prescription given to me by someone else." Xiao Qin took back the prescription and nodded. However, he felt ashamed in his heart. These medicinal herbs that could be bought in the market were worth more than 300,000 yuan, and there were so many medicinal herbs that could not be bought. In this way, 1 million yuan for one medicinal herb was really not a high price, especially when they gave him a 50% discount. How could he still doubt them? After leaving the pharmacy, Xiao Qin sighed. He thought that the money would last him for a long time, but now it seemed that he would run out of money in a few days. Money, money, you murderous knife. Xiao Qin had never been so short of money. If he had known that he could cultivate when he was in the Xiao family, he believed that even if Cheng Minjing's uncle died, old Master Cheng would not easily break off the engagement, right? Of course, even if he broke off the engagement, the Xiao family would not drive him out of the family easily, would they? However, had it not been for the opportunity, Xiao Qin would not have met the elder heaven ancestor and embarked on the awesome path of cultivation. When Xiao Qin returned to school, he saw two cars next to Cheng Minjing and Jean Beibei. One of them was a Porsche 991, and the other was an Audi A6L. Xiao Qin's eyelids twitched when he saw the cars. He had a vague memory of the car, but he did not know where he had seen it before. However, Audi A6L was a very common car. It was not strange that Xiao Qin had seen it before. The Porsche 991 was obviously Qin Jinping's. He was standing next to the car and talking to Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian did not interrupt but simply listened to him with a smile. That was exactly her personality. She was always warm to everybody. Her sunny smile and her gentle tone did not betray her real thoughts. There was no telling whether or not she had accepted Qin Jinping. It was impossible for Xiao Qin not to care about the fact that his former goddess had become the fiancée of his former follower. However, some things had changed and Xiao Qin was no longer the Xiao Qin in the past. Even if he killed Qin Jinping, the Xin family would still choose another family for Xin Jingxian to marry. Would he kill every family that appeared? Chao Yuliang, on the other hand, was talking to Qing Menjing. Compared to Xin Jingxian, the lady's emotions were all written on her face. She looked at Chao Yuliang indifferently. Xiaoqin stopped the car. Jean Beibei shouted happily, "Cousin-in-law, you're here." Chao Yuliang couldn't help but frown when he heard the word cousin-in-law. However, he couldn't tell whether Jean Beibei was sincere or sarcastic. Because Jean Beibei's thoughts were too unpredictable. Xiaoqin nodded. At this moment, Chao Yuliang turned to look at Xiaoqin and said, "Xiaoqin, we've been fighting for so many years, but there's no clear winner. However, you were unexpectedly driven out of the family and lost the chance to compete with me for Qing Menjing. What a pity." When Chao Yuliang said this, although he was looking at Xiaoqin, he was also looking at Qing Menjing out of the corner of his eyes. He wanted to know what Qing Menjing thought about Xiaoqin. However, it was a pity that the lady's face was still cold. This made Xiaoqin feel slightly relieved. Chao Yuliang was secretly observing Qing Menjing. Wasn't he the same? If he gave himself away in front of his sworn enemy and the Qing family heard about it, it wouldn't be a joke. However, the lady's emotions were only on the surface. In front of outsiders, she didn't care about Xiaoqin at all. Even when Xiaoqin came, she just took a glance at him and didn't pay attention to him anymore. As for what Jean Beibei said, that was Jean Beibei's business. Practically no one dared to casually believe her words. "Don't talk about those useless things. Where's my appearance fee?" Chao Yuliang was about to say something to make Xiaoqin lower his guard against him. He wanted to see if there was anything fishy between Xiaoqin, Qing Menjing, and Jean Beibei. However, he didn't expect that he would be interrupted by Xiaoqin directly. As a result, he couldn't say what he had prepared. He was very upset. "Give it to him." Chao Yuliang looked at Qin Jinping. "Here you are. This is a card worth 150,000 yuan. The password is 6 zeros. Qin Jinping handed a bank card to Xiaoqin. "Okay. Ask me to come out next time. Remember, the minimum appearance fee is 150,000 yuan. Xiaoqin put away the bank card in satisfaction and said. Chao Yuliang frowned. Xiaoqin was almost the same as the rumors said. He was still arrogant, but he had become greedy. However, it was normal. It was probably the first time that the young master of the Xiao family had tasted the feeling of being poor. It would be strange if he wasn't greedy. "Then can we go to eat now?" asked Chao Yuliang. "I don't have a problem with that. Why don't you ask them?" Xiaoqin pointed at Qing Menjing and Jean Beibei. When they were outside, he had to remember his identity as a servant and did not dare to usurp the host's position, although he was in charge of Qing Menjing's meals every day. "Humph? Qin Jinping, are you looking down on me? Even my servants have appearance fees. Why don't I, the host, have them?" Qing Menjing hated Qin Jinping and Chao Yuliang. If it weren't for Xin Jingxian, she wouldn't have bothered to come out. Well, Qin Jinping felt like crying. What's wrong with these people being assimilated by Jean Beibei? Why are they so greedy for money? Chao Yuliang nodded slightly. Qin Jinping hurried to take out a bank card from his pocket and gave it to Qing Menjing. Yes. How can I not have it? Haha, this is a 200,000 yuan card. The password is 6 zeros. It was the card that Qin Jinping had prepared to pay for the meal later, but he had given it away just like that. Only 200,000 yuan? It's not even enough to fill the gap between my teeth. Qing Menjing took over the bank card and gave it to Xiaoqin without even looking at it. "Take it. It's a reward from me." "Thank you, miss." Xiaoqin hurried to take the card. He didn't expect that Qing Menjing would give him money. What a surprise. However, it didn't matter even if the Qing family learned about it. After all, it could be regarded as a way for Qing Menjing to humiliate Xiaoqin. The corner of Qin Jinping's mouth twitched. Damn it. 200,000 yuan is still not enough. If you are not Xin Jingshuan's good friend and brother Liang's goddess, you can go if you want. Get the hell out of here. You have already spent more than 300,000 yuan before the meal. Nobody who is with Jean Beibei is a good person. Shall we go now? It's almost time. Chao Yuliang looked at his watch and said, "Xiaoqin, are you going to take my car?" Xin Jingxian would definitely take Qin Jinping's car, and Jean Beibei had a car. Even if Chao Yuliang wanted Qing Menjing to take his car, it was impossible. "I still need a driver. Xiaoqin, you drive." Qing Menjing said as she pointed at Pamela. "Okay." Xiaoqin nodded. He was a bit resigned. Chao Yuliang wished he could exchange with Xiaoqin. It was a good opportunity to get close to his goddess. He didn't expect that Xiaoqin, a servant, would waste it. The place where they ate today was a northern restaurant. The specifications couldn't be said to be the most luxurious, but it was also very unique. There was a 3-story building with an independent parking lot in front of the door. It was also a well-known restaurant in this neighborhood. Most importantly, it was one of the properties of the Chow family in Chow Yuliang's territory. Chow Yuliang parked the car and waited for Qin Jinping, Shen Jingxian, Xiao Qin, Qing Minjing, and Jin Beibei to get off the car. Then he entered the hotel with them. Young Master Chow, Young Master Qin, Miss Qing, Miss Shen, and Miss Jin welcome. The doorman directly ignored Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin had eaten here before. Therefore it was impossible that the doorman didn't know him. However, the news that he was kicked out of the Chow family had obviously spread out, especially in the hotel of the Chow family. Therefore these people started to look down on him. However, Xiao Qin didn't care about that. When he was about to go in, Jin Beibei started to lose her temper. Hey you, why did you put me at the back? Do you mean that I'm worse than Chow Yuliang and Qin Jinping? I'm going to tell my grandpa that you are discriminating against the Jin family. You despise us. Chapter 118. The doorman greeted them according to Chow Yuliang's instructions. The ranking was also based on the overall strength of the families in Songning City. Of course, the reason why Qing Minjing was placed behind Chow Yuliang and Qin Jinping was that although the Qing family was the top family in Songning City, they were women. Therefore it was not a problem for them to be placed behind according to the rules. Who would have thought that Jin Beibei would suddenly make things difficult for them? However, he could not afford to offend Jin Beibei, especially old Master Jin of the Jin family, who was famous for being unreasonable. If he came, the hotel would probably be razed to the ground, and there would be no place to reason with him. Who asked you to discriminate against the Jin family? Being pushed by someone, that person deserved to be unlucky. Chow Yuliang frowned. He did not want Jin Beibei to make things difficult for him. However, he was not stupid. It was impossible for him to be arrogant and arrogant to be able to wrestle with the impersonator Xiao Qin over the years. He just smiled casually and said, Beibei, generally speaking, the last person to show up is the most important one. Look, in general, the last person to show up is the chairman. Oh, so you mean that I am the VIP, right? More honorable than you? Jin Beibei asked. Yes. Chow Yuliang nodded. Then why don't I have a diamond VIP card? Aren't you a VIP? You even have a diamond VIP card. Are you lying to me? Jin Beibei suddenly glared at Chow Yuliang and said angrily. Well, Chow Yuliang was very angry. It was a failure to bring Jin Beibei along. However, if he wanted to invite Qing Minjing, she would not come without Jin Beibei. In order to please Qing Minjing, he had to put up with it. The so-called Diamond VIP card was a VIP card of the highest level given by the Chow family. Those who came to eat here could enjoy the free treatment. The Chow family only gave such cards to some important partners and the outstanding disciples of the family. For example, Chow Yuliang was the heir of the Chow family. Naturally, he was qualified to have such a VIP card. He usually chose this place to treat his guests because he did not have to pay. However, he did not expect that he would be tricked by Jin Beibei before he even had his meal. Qin Jinping looked at Chow Yuliang sympathetically and thought, you mocked me for having my car stolen by Jin Beibei. What happened now? You were tricked, weren't you? Well, I'll give this card to you. You have it, but I don't. So, you are of a higher level than me now, aren't you? Chow Yuliang gritted his teeth. He thought to himself that he could consider it a love investment. If he gave it to Jin Beibei, he would be giving it to Qing Minjing in exchange for a good impression from her. That was better than anything else. It was just a card. With his position in the Chow family, it would not be difficult for him to get another one. That's more like it. Jin Beibei put the Diamond VIP card back and said proudly, Today Jin Beibei is treating us. Feel free to eat whatever you like. Who? Chow Yuliang took a deep breath and almost collapsed on the spot. You are treating us? However, he knew that if he infuriated Jin Beibei and the girl left with Qing Minjing, all his efforts would be in vain. I didn't know that, Chow Yuliang. It's only been a few days since we last met, and you seem to be quite good at training yourself. Have you been watching a blockbuster recently? Xiao Qin glanced at Chow Yuliang mockingly. What blockbuster? Chow Yuliang was slightly dazed. The Ninja Turtle. Before Xiao Qin opened his mouth, Jin Beibei continued, Am I right, cousin-in-law? Let him figure it out on his own, Xiao Qin said with a smile. Chow Yuliang's face turned gloomy, not because Jin Beibei called him a Ninja Turtle, but because Jin Beibei had called him cousin-in-law. He knew that Jin Beibei might be playing tricks on Xiao Qin, just like how he had been tricked without him knowing. However, on second thought, what benefit could Jin Beibei get from playing tricks on Xiao Qin? Jean Beibei had tricked people a few times for her own benefit, such as Qin Jinping's car and his own diamond VIP card. However, Xiaoqin was a poor guy. What benefit could he get? Therefore, Qiao Yuliang did not know whether it was true or not. The more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. However, he could not say anything, fearing that Jean Beibei would play tricks on him again if he asked her. They went upstairs and entered the private room. However, what happened next made Qiao Yuliang even more upset. After Jean Beibei sat down, she held the menu and asked Xiaoqin to order food. "Cousin-in-law, look. This is delicious," said Jean Beibei. "Yes, yes. We ate this in the Azure Sea Palace last time. It's delicious." Xiaoqin nodded. "Beibei, look. This looks delicious too." "Yes, yes, yes. Let's order one too. Let's eat together later," said Jean Beibei. Okay. Let's order one too." Xiaoqin was more than happy to play dumb with Jean Beibei. He did not try to hide his relationship with Jean Beibei either because it would be too unnatural. Qing Minjing pretended that she did not care, but she was secretly frowning. Why is Xiaoqin acting exactly like Jean Beibei? Two gluttons and a money grubber. Xiaoqin had earned 150,000 for his appearance, and Jean Beibei had gotten a diamond VIP card. However, what Qing Minjing did not expect was that she had asked for 200,000 before. Seeing Xiaoqin's drooling face, Qin Jinping could not help but mock. "Xiaoqin, why do you look like a hungry ghost? How many days has it been since you last ate?" "Qin Jinping, are you scolding me indirectly?" Jean Beibei raised her head and bared her teeth at Qin Jinping. Well, Qin Jinping did not think of Jean Beibei at all. Now that he realized that he had offended Jean Beibei too, he immediately regretted his words. How could he have been so talkative? What a b asterisk tc? He could only say with a smile, "How could I?" "Well, you said you couldn't, but you must be thinking the same way," said Jean Beibei. Speaking of bickering, Qin Jinping was no match for Jean Beibei at all. Even if he and Qiao Yuliang worked together, they wouldn't be able to do anything. He was immediately put out by Jean Beibei. "What about you?" While talking, Jean Beibei suddenly slapped her car key on the table. "Right, Qin Jinping, I think your car is quite good. Why don't we swap cars?" "Swap cars?" Qin Jinping was slightly dazed, but Jean Beibei did not pursue what had happened just now. It was exactly what he wanted. Besides, the Porsche Panamera had been modified, and the Porsche 991 had not been modified yet. It would be very worthwhile to swap cars. Thinking about that, Qin Jinping hurried to say, "Okay. Let's do it." While talking, he gave the car key to Jean Beibei. Jean Beibei was rather straightforward this time. She gave her car key to Qin Jinping too. Seeing that Jean Beibei did not play any tricks this time, Qin Jinping was greatly relieved. After swapping cars, Jean Beibei seemed to be quite satisfied. She went to order food from Xiaoqin again. This time Qin Jinping had learned his lesson. He shut his mouth and did not dare to say anything. Qiao Yuliang did the same. He had intended to test Xiaoqin, but he did not dare to open his mouth to test him. If he was wrong, he would be screwed. Very soon the dishes were served. They were all the dishes that Jean Beibei had ordered. However, Qiao Yuliang and the rest of them were not really there to eat. She could order whatever she wanted. After the waiters left, Jean Beibei and Xiaoqin began to eat as if nobody else were there. "Cousin-in-law, this dried pot is delicious." Jean Beibei placed the dried pot in front of her and Xiaoqin. "Yes, it is indeed delicious." Xiaoqin nodded after eating. "Beibei, the mushroom I ate just now was delicious too." Yes, the mushroom is delicious." After taking a bite, Jean Beibei's eyes narrowed into crescents. She picked up a prawn crawler and put it on Xiaoqin's plate. "Cousin-in-law, this prawn crawler is delicious too. Let me have a taste." Xiaoqin picked it up and stuffed it into his mouth. "It's delicious. Delicious." Qiao Yuliang looked at Xiaoqin and Jean Beibei in a daze. Now, he was not convinced that Xiaoqin and Qing Minjing were in a relationship. Although Jean Beibei called Xiaoqin her cousin-in-law, Qing Minjing did not seem to care about Xiaoqin at all. Instead, she slightly frowned when she saw Xiaoqin and Jean Beibei. However, Qiao Yuliang's concern came from Jean Beibei. Was there anything fishy going on between Xiaoqin and Jean Beibei? The two of them seemed to be very close. Was Jean Beibei really trying to trick Xiaoqin? It did not look like it. If the two of them were dating, Qiao Yuliang would have believed it. However, his heart suddenly skipped a beat when he thought of the idea. No. He could not allow Xiaoqin to make a comeback. Absolutely not. "Xiaoqin, how are you doing right now? Are you still in touch with the Xiao family?" Qiao Yuliang asked calmly. "Not bad. Somebody often invites me to dinner. I feel that my life is even better than before. Before, I had to pay for my meals with my own money. Now somebody else pays for me, Xiaoqin said. The Xiao family? Not really. I saw my sister a couple of days ago and was scolded by her. Qiao Yuliang was dazed for a moment. Then he was more or less relieved. It seemed that the Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. It was a good thing. Now he had 3 pieces of information, some good and some bad. One was that Qing Minjing and Xiao Chen did not seem to be in a relationship. They should not be a love story between a young lady and a servant. However, he was not very sure. 2 was that the relationship between Jin Beibei and Xiao Chen was a little special. He did not know whether Jin Beibei wanted to trick Xiao Chen or make use of Xiao Chen. Or perhaps both of them were greedy for money, so they fell in love with each other? The 3rd piece of information was more important. The Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. He could be sure of that. Qiao Yuliang did not think that Xiao Chen would lie to him. The 3rd piece of information was really good news. I haven't seen Xiao for a long time. By the way, Qing Minjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingqiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Qiao Yuliang looked at Qing Minjing and said. Mingqiang likes Xiao? This surprised Qing Minjing. Qing Mingqiang's brother was not close to her, his cousin. Chapter 119. Although there was not much of a difference between the two of them, only a few years apart, Qing Mingqiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Minjing to get along with him. For so many years, other than talking during the holidays, it was actually very difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingqiang was the son of Qing Minjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Qiao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Minjing was just surprised. I haven't seen Xiao for a long time. By the way, Qing Minjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingqiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Qiao Yuliang looked at Qing Minjing and said. Mingqiang likes Xiao? This surprised Qing Minjing. Qing Mingqiang's younger brother wasn't close to his cousin. Although they were only a few years apart, Qing Mingqiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Minjing to hang out with him. For so many years, apart from talking during festivals, it was difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingqiang was the son of Qing Minjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Qiao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Minjing was just surprised. In theory, if the Qing family and the Xiao family united by marriage, it wouldn't be a good thing for Xiao Chen. This was because it would completely cut off the possibility of a relationship between Qing Minjing and Xiao Chen. The Qing family weren't fools. It was impossible for 2 members of the same family to unite by marriage with another family. That wouldn't maximize the benefits at all. Moreover, in this marriage the Qing family would be the leader and the Xiao family would be the weaker one. In order to appease the anger of the Qing family, the Xiao family would definitely lower their stance. As long as the Qing family didn't forgive Xiao Chen would never be able to make a comeback. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen's younger sister, Xiao Chen, didn't like Xiao Chen, which confirmed that it was impossible for Xiao Chen to return to the Xiao family. Of course, the final benefit that these things brought to Qiao Yuliang was that if the Qiao family used their power, Qing Minjing might be his wife. Really? Qing Minjing asked indifferently, which made Qiao Yuliang unable to see her real thoughts. In fact, Qing Minjing's thoughts weren't as complicated as Qiao Yuliang's. Although she was a member of a big family, she naturally couldn't see the drawbacks with her kind character. In her opinion, if the Qing family really united by marriage with the Xiao family again, would Xiao Chen be able to return to the Xiao family? After Xiao Chen heard it, he felt a little strange in his heart. What was the Qing family playing at? He could see it clearly. Even if the engagement between Qing Minjing and himself was destroyed, he was more likely to return to the Xiao family in the end. Or was it that the Qing family was just angry for a while? After the anger subsided, they wouldn't care about his life anymore? I can't be sure. It's just a rumor. In fact, Qiao Yuliang wasn't sure about this matter. He also heard that person mention it vaguely. At this time he said it just to test Qing Minjing. However, after testing he couldn't see anything on Qing Minjing's face, which made him very depressed. Qiao Yuliang had no other way. He could only give Qin Jinping a look. Since he couldn't test her, then he would carry out the second plan, which was to defame Xiao Chen. As long as he often belittled Xiao Chen's image, then Qing Minjing would definitely not have feelings for Xiao Chen. This kind of thing was imperceptible. As long as she slowly hated Xiao Qin from the bottom of her heart, then even if Xiao Qin wanted to change this impression, it would be useless. Xiao Qin, after dinner, little brother will bring you to have some fun. I heard that there are a few top girls in the Dreamland nightclub. One of them is a porn actress called Cece. Can I help you arrange it? Qin Jinping said at this time. Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. Although he had been to the Dreamland nightclub to have fun, it was nothing more than singing, drinking, and showing off with his little brother. He had never looked for any prostitutes. He was still a virgin. What was this Qin Jinping doing? However, very soon he understood. Was this guy sent by Chao Yuliang to be his henchman? Belittling his image in front of Cheng Menjing? Xiao Qin was very puzzled. It was basically impossible for him and Miss to be together. Why was he doing these useless things? Could it be that he was such a big threat to him? Oh, it's Cece. Pingzi, what are the names of the two girls we played together last time? Those two young models? Xiao Qin nodded shamelessly and then said to Qin Jinping, I think those two are good. We can have a threesome. F*CKU, aren't you framing me? Anyway, it's impossible for me and Miss to be together now. I don't have any expectations for goddess Xinjing Xin, so I'm not afraid of slandering you. Since you like going to nightclubs so much, I don't mind framing you. Qin Jinping was stunned. When did he play with young models with Xiao Qin? Xiao Qin's words made Xinjing Xin frown. Although Qin Jinping was arranged by the family, it didn't mean that she liked Qin Jinping. When she heard that Qin Jinping went to play with young models, Xinjing Xuan's impression of him suddenly plummeted. There was no other reason. It was because Qin Jinping had been bragging about how upright he was when he was in contact with her for the past few days. Because he had been a second young master since he was young, he didn't have too many bad habits of a playboy. He was Xinjing Xuan's ideal marriage partner. But now it seemed that they were jackals of the same tribe. As for Xiao Qin, Xinjing Xin didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Because Xiao Qin was notorious in the past. He had such a beautiful fiancée, but he still flirted with other women. Not only did he pursue Kerlin, he also pursued her. So, Xinjing Xin was used to Xiao Qin's behavior. As for Cheng Menjing, she just frowned slightly. She didn't believe that Xiao Qin was a playboy. How many of these young masters were playboys? Even her younger brother, Cheng Mingqiang, Cheng Menjing had heard that he played with women. It wasn't a secret in the aristocratic families. Cheng Menjing was completely disappointed with her fiancé, Xiao Qin. So now that Xiao Qin changed a little, she was surprised. As for these things that Qin Jinping said, Cheng Menjing didn't care at all. She had seen the worst side of him. How could she be afraid that it wouldn't be worse? In Cheng Menjing's opinion, it was unforgivable that Xiao Qin bullied others and forced himself to pursue Kerlin. It was normal for him to find a prostitute. If Chao Yuliang knew Cheng Menjing's logic, he would probably die of anger. Cheng Menjing didn't have high requirements. Was it a surprise that he was a little better? However, Qin Jinping used to work for Xiao Qin. If he denied it, Xinjing Xin wouldn't believe it. It was him who brought up this topic and Xiao Qin said it in a natural way. It didn't seem to be fake at all. Wow, a threesome? Isn't it cool? Jean Bebe raised her head and looked at Xiao Qin with admiration. Cousin-in-law, you are so powerful. Pooh. Xiao Qin spat out the drink in his mouth. He had just mentioned it casually, but Jean Bebe took it seriously and looked very excited. Was this girl's mind abnormal? What's a threesome? Cheng Menjing didn't know what it meant. She looked at Jean Bebe in confusion. She thought it was a round-trip flight. It's a threesome. Jean Bebe said, but threesome is not limited by gender. 2 men and 1 woman, 2 women and 1 man. 3 men or 3 women are all threesome. But a threesome is 2 women and 1 man. In other words, threesome includes a threesome. A threesome is a subset of threesome. Cheng Menjing didn't know what a threesome was. But threesome was common. How could she not know? She glared at Xiao Qin after hearing that. Hey, don't lead me astray. Bebe said that. Xiao Qin said with a bitter smile. Humph, you did it, Cheng Menjing said. Then I did it. Xiao Qin said. You. Cheng Menjing was a bit angry. Can't you be more reserved in front of your fiancé? Do you even care about me? How can you talk about such things in front of me? How annoying. Seeing that Cheng Menjing was starting to hate Xiao Qin, Chao Yuliang was quite happy. It seemed that his scheme had worked. However, if he knew Cheng Menjing's real thoughts at the moment, he would probably vomit blood. Shall we go in a while? For Chao Yuliang, Qin Jinping was ready to risk everything. After all, Xinjing Xin was already his fiancée. Even if he didn't have a good impression of her, it was something that couldn't be changed. At most he would kiss her again later, but he couldn't run away. He was in urgent need of Chao Yuliang to take him to some occasions where the young masters would appear in order to increase his appearance and sense of existence. Otherwise, it would be very awkward for him to take over the identity of the young master. Okay, Xiaoqin said indifferently. Jean Bebe was full at the moment. Hearing that Chen Jinping wanted to go to a nightclub, she immediately echoed, Oh, I want to go too. Chen Jinping's face darkened. He had planned to let Xin Jingxian, Qing Menjing and Jean Bebe leave first. After all, if he took Xiaoqin there, he and Chao Yuliang would have to have some fun, wouldn't they? However, if Jean Bebe went there, what if Xin Jingxian and Qing Menjing went there too? However, Chao Yuliang's eyes brightened. If Jean Bebe went there, wouldn't it be possible for Qing Menjing to go there too? By then, she would witness Xiao Chen's embarrassing behavior when he was looking for a prostitute. In that case, Qing Menjing would probably never be able to be with Xiao Chen again in her life, would she? Thinking of that, Chao Yuliang pretended to be surprised and said, Jean Bebe, Xiao Chen is going to look for a prostitute. What are you going to do there? I'm going to look for a prostitute too. I haven't looked for one yet. Jean Bebe, however, shouted excitedly, I'm going too. I'm going too. Bebe, do you have that function? Qing Menjing looked at Jean Bebe, who was yelling and screaming, and felt very embarrassed. How stupid was she? I don't, but my cousin-in-law does. I'll watch him look for a prostitute and cheer for him, said Jean Bebe. Chapter 120. Ahem. A scene appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. He was with a girl, and Jean Bebe was cheering for him. How exciting. He didn't know why, but the girl's appearance had turned into Qing Menjing's. Then I'll go and have a look. Let's watch together. Qing Menjing looked at Xiao Chen's fantasy and enjoyment. Suddenly, she felt a little uncomfortable. Am I so unattractive? I didn't see you look like this when you were at home. You look so beautiful when you are with a girl. I'm so mad. I'll go and ruin things for you. However, if Qing Menjing knew that Xiao Chen was fantasizing about her just now, she didn't know if she should be happy or angry. Seeing that Qing Menjing was going, Chao Yuliang was relieved. But what puzzled him was that Xiao Chen didn't seem to care about Qing Menjing's opinion at all. It seemed that there was really nothing going on between them. However, it was a little strange to say that there was nothing going on between them under the same roof. Apart from Qing Menjing and Xin Jingxian, the rest of the food was eaten by Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe. Chen Jinping and Chao Yuliang didn't eat any of it. Most importantly, they didn't have the nerve to fight for it. Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen had placed their plates in front of them. How embarrassing would that be? But the two of them didn't seem to think about it at all. They ate as happily as they could. After the meal, Jean Bebe waved her hand and swiped her diamond card. The bill was free. Chao Yuliang's face twitched again. That was his card. Wonderland in Dreams was one of the most famous nightclubs in Songning City. It was luxuriously decorated and had many entertainment programs. It was the first choice of entertainment for the children of the aristocratic families. 3 cars parked in the underground parking lot of Wonderland in Dreams one after another. They got out of the cars and entered Wonderland in Dreams. When the receptionist at the door saw Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping, she immediately greeted them with a smile. Young Master Chao, young Master Qin, you're here again? Why did he bring 3 little girls with him today? And they're all so pretty? Are you dissatisfied with the ladies here? The receptionist automatically ignored Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen had been here before, Xiao Chen's deeds had spread. Who would still respect him? He looked like a follower and was not a big shot. When Chao Yuliang heard the greeting, he really wanted to slap the man in the face. Usually he would be very happy. After all, the receptionist flattered him and ignored Xiao Chen. That kind of feeling would be very satisfying. But now the receptionist said this. Didn't that mean that he came often? Moreover, he mentioned that he was looking for a prostitute. Didn't that mean that he often came here to look for a prostitute? As for the fact that the receptionist didn't know Qing Menjing, Xin Jingxian and Jean Bebe, it was understandable. Why would girls like them come here? Today was the first time. Ahem. Chao Yuliang coughed twice and glanced at Qing Menjing. He said, Menjing, don't misunderstand. I'm just here to socialize and play. Oh, what does that have to do with me? Qing Menjing rolled her eyes and didn't take it to heart. Chao Yuliang sighed in his heart. Qing Menjing didn't have that kind of interest in him. However, from Qing Menjing's expression, she probably didn't have any interest in Xiao Chen either. They both had this kind of disdainful expression. Jingxian, that's because I used to occasionally come here with young Master Xiao. It's also for fun. Qin Jinping quickly explained to Qin Jingxian. Qin Jingxian frowned slightly. She thought Qin Jinping was too unreliable. She decided to go back and discuss with her father. Even if it was a political marriage, they shouldn't look for Qin Jinping. She thought they wouldn't be happy in the future. It wasn't scary that he had looked for a prostitute. What was scary was that he lied to others. Qin Jingxian was the eldest daughter of an aristocratic family. She could barely accept a man having 3 wives and 4 concubines, let alone playing with a prostitute. However, what she was most afraid of was deceiving people. Qin Jingxian didn't think it was very tolerable. At this time, Qin Jingxian felt that Xiao Qin was much more pleasing to the eye. This person never pretended. He was what he was. The greeter saw that Zhao Yuliang and Qin Jinping's expressions weren't right. After listening to their explanation to the girls beside them, he immediately understood that these beauties weren't ordinary women. They were people with status. His previous words were a bit unnecessary. He was so scared that he quickly moved to the side and didn't dare to say anything more. It seems that I come here too rarely. They don't even know me. Haha. Xiao Qin seemed to laugh at himself. In fact, it indirectly meant that Zhao Yuliang and Qin Jinping were regular customers here. These two people finally felt like they had shot themselves in the foot. They obviously wanted to ruin Xiao Qin's reputation, but Xiao Qin didn't seem to care about this at all. Of course, Xiao Qin didn't care. In the past, in order to save his life, he didn't hesitate to pretend to be a prodigal. What was this little thing? Young Master Xiao, Young Master Chao, Young Master Qin, are you here to sing? At this time, a man in a black suit came over. Obviously, the greeter told him about the situation here. He was the lobby manager, Feng Yujing. He was a smart person. As soon as he came up, he put Xiao Qin in front of him. In addition to showing that he valued Xiao Qin, it also indirectly showed that Xiao Qin was a regular customer. However, if it was usual, it would be fine. With the previous words of the greeter, he was a little pretentious. Yes, sing. Zhao Yuliang breathed a sigh of relief. Give me a private room. Okay, please wait a moment. As he spoke, Feng Yujing picked up the walkie-talkie and spoke into it. Then he said to Zhao Yuliang, Purple Chi Pavilion private room on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor of the Wonderland of Dreams was filled with luxurious private rooms. They were all named with the words Purple Chi Chamber, East Ascension Chamber, and Rising Sun Chamber. There were no room numbers. Otherwise, some guests would want private room number 1. That would be difficult to deal with. Furthermore, they were all words. You would not be able to tell which one was the best. Wait, aren't we here to look for a mistress? What song are we singing? Jean Beibei interrupted Feng Yujing and said, Qin Jinping, didn't you say you wanted Mistress Zhao? Feng Yujing was stunned. He looked at Jean Beibei in surprise and didn't know what to say. A girl came here to look for a mistress? He looked at Zhao Yuliang with some difficulty. Let's sing for a while first and then look for a mistress later. There's no hurry? Zhao Yuliang said. Oh, okay then. Jean Beibei nodded. Feng Yujing heaved a sigh of relief and sent them to the elevator. The 3rd floor's decoration was obviously not of the same level as the 1st and 2nd floors. In the past, Xiao Qin had also been here. However, it was only limited to singing and drinking. He was not very interested in looking for a mistress. The few of them exited the elevator and walked in the direction of Purple Chi Pavilion. However, when they passed by one of the private rooms, Xiao Qin's footsteps slowed down slightly. That was because he heard a familiar voice. However, very quickly, Xiao Qin continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. He was secretly thinking about how he could make use of this matter. To be honest, Xiao Qin hated Zhao Yuliang and Qin Jinping very much. He was not a saint. If there was a grudge, there was a grudge. Regardless of whether he was pretending to be a playboy or not, the grudge between him and Zhao Yuliang had never been resolved. Of course, in the end it was because Zhao Yuliang liked Xiao Qin's fiancée, Cheng Menjing. Even though Xiao Qin had acted nonchalant at the start, he still cared deep down. Furthermore, there was Qin Jinping. This traitor had actually snatched Xiao Qin's goddess? If Xiao Qin had not been afraid of the Qin family's suspicions, he would have sent him to meet his brother long ago. The reason why he had been laughing and joking was actually because Xiao Qin was more tolerant. They wanted to test Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin also wanted to see if the person who had been trying to harm him was Qin Jinping or Zhao Yuliang. After entering the VIP room and ordering some snacks and beer, the waiter turned on the KTV song ordering system. Then Zhao Yuliang volunteered to sing. It had to be said that Zhao Yuliang had a good voice. At least Xiao Qin thought so because he could not sing at all. Chapter 121. Is she my mistress? Or was she once my fiancée? Perhaps it was both. As for looking for a prostitute, it was completely impossible for Xiao Qin. He wasn't that desperate. He hadn't looked for one before. Why would he look for one now? Xiao Qin came out of the private room. Just as someone came out of the private room where Xiao Qin had stayed for a while. Xiao Qin came out because he sensed the movement here. Sure enough. Xiao Qin, why are you here? Lu Zhenming saw Xiao Qin rushing towards him and he was a little puzzled. Young Master Lu, but I don't have time to talk to you. I have to find the security guard. It's not good. Something big happened. Xiao Qin said anxiously. Wait. After Lu Zhenming heard Xiao Qin's words, he grabbed Xiao Qin. What happened? Why are you looking for the security guard? I don't want to talk to you now. It will be late in a while. Xiao Qin yelled. What the hell are you talking about? Lu Zhenming was also anxious. It's better to find me than to find the security guard. In this place, if I, Lu Zhenming, can't solve it, it's useless to find someone else. It was no wonder that Lu Zhenming was arrogant. This dreamland and wonderland was his Lu family's business, so he dared to say this. Moreover, Lu Zhenming wanted to kill Xiao Qin now, but he couldn't make a move openly. First, he told Jing Xiaoquan that it was not in line with the rules of the underworld if he made a move openly. Second, it was more important that Yu Xiaochuan was watching. Although he had thoughts about Yu Xiaochuan, he didn't dare to offend Yu Xiaochuan. Therefore, he pretended to listen to Yu Xiaochuan's words and built a good relationship with Xiao Chen. Now his purpose was to gain Xiao Chen's trust, so that he could have a chance to trick Xiao Chen. It seemed that the effect was very obvious. Then I'll tell you. Today 2 ruthless men invited me, Qing Menjing and Jin Beibei, to play here. One of them was my former underling, but now he has changed and doesn't care about me anymore. Xiao Chen said anxiously. What? Qing Menjing is also here? At first, Lu Zhenming didn't pay much attention to it, but when he heard Qing Menjing's name, he immediately paid attention. What happened? And then? Then another ruthless man, he is Qing Menjing's pursuer. I heard that he wanted to drug Qing Menjing's drink, and then take the opportunity. You know. Xiao Chen said, although I like her now, no matter what, Qing Menjing is my former fiancée. She likes that man, it's okay. But the point is that she doesn't like him. I can't ignore it. Don't you think so? F***ck their ancestors. As soon as Lu Zhenming heard that someone had drugged Qing Menjing, he immediately exploded. He was so angry that he jumped up from the ground. Who dares to touch the woman that I, Lu Zhenming, fancy? You dare to drug someone in my territory? I'll F***king kill him. Oh, young Master Lu, don't be impulsive. Seeing that Lu Zhenming was about to rush over, Xiao Chen quickly grabbed him. I said he is a ruthless man. A ruthless man means a warrior. If it were ordinary people, I would have beaten them to death. Oh, that's true. After hearing this, Lu Zhenming didn't rush over. Instead, he turned his head and shouted to the box he had just come out of, Brothers Dong Yu and Dong Shu, you two come out and follow me to kick people. Yes. The people in the box responded and came out. They were 2 big men who looked somewhat similar. Judging from their names, they should be brothers. These 2 are? Xiao Chen asked quickly. These 2 are the personal disciples of our Lu family's old ancestor. They are also my big brother and second brother. Today I invited them to have fun. You really found the right time. If it was any other time, I really wouldn't be able to convince Master to ask them to help. Lu Zhenming said proudly, Big brother Dong Yu is a martial artist at the peak of Stage 6 Inner Force. Second brother Dong Shu is also a martial artist at the peak of Stage 4 Inner Force. With them taking action, no matter how ruthless people are, they will have to crawl out of here. That's awesome. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save them. Xiao Chen said excitedly. However, in Xiao Chen's heart, a storm was set off. A martial artist at the peak of Stage 6 Inner Force. Lu Zhenming actually had such an expert by his side. If Lu Zhenming really let this person deal with him, then even if he had the help of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, he wouldn't be a match. Fortunately, Lu Zhenming couldn't order these 2 people around. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The most important thing now was to increase his strength as soon as possible. Yes, save them. Let's go. Lu Zhenming waved his hand and the 4 of them rushed to the Purple Chi Pavilion. When they arrived at the entrance of the Purple Chi Pavilion, Lu Zhenming pointed to the door of the private room and asked, Is this the place? That's right. Xiao Chen nodded. I'd better follow behind. If those 2 ruthless people find out that I was the one who leaked the information, they will kill me afterward. They don't dare to offend a fierce person like young Master Lu, but a small character like me can't. My family won't protect me. Alright, then you stay behind. Lu Zhiming actually didn't want Xiao Chen to be in the limelight. This was a great opportunity for him to be in the limelight. It was enough for him to be in the limelight. If he let Qing Menjing remember that he saved her, she might have a good impression of him. Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming fiercely kicked the door of the private room. With a loud bang, the door of the private room was kicked open. Lu Zhiming rushed into the private room first and saw Qing Menjing drinking a drink while Chao Yuliang was beside her saying something. However, Chao Yuliang only dared to defend himself secretly, but did not dare to show his strength of the peak of the third level of inner force. Although Qin Jinping was on his side, Qing Menjing, Shen Jingxian, and Jin Beibei were all from aristocratic families. If he secretly defended himself, they might not feel anything because the internal force of the defense could only be perceived by the attacker who was very close to him. However, if the internal force of the attack was released, everyone nearby could feel it. Yes, Chao Yuliang was not a real foppish young master. Although he looked as arrogant and domineering as Xiao Chen, they were all from aristocratic families. Who was more stupid than the other? What you saw might not be the truth. For example, Yu Xiaochuan and Jing Xiaoquan were all scheming people. Even Lu Zhiming was not simple. Although he had been tricked by Xiao Chen several times, if Xiao Chen hadn't hidden his true strength, if he was really the hedonistic idiot from before, he would have probably been toyed to death by Lu Zhiming by now. He wouldn't have survived until now. It could only be said that Lu Zhiming was not as smart as Xiao Chen, but it did not mean that he was not smart. In fact, the plots he made were exactly what a son from a family of mafia should have, but he used them on the wrong person. Over these years, Chao Yuliang had been hiding his real strength. He looked like a good-for-nothing on the surface. In fact, he had started to cooperate with someone when he was very young. The reason why he could become the eldest son of the Chao family was that with the help of that person, his cousin was expelled from the Chao family and sent to the north to manage his business. Now he was the only heir of the Chao family. Xiao Chen hid outside the door of the private room. His breathing was slightly rapid, and his hands were clenched into fists, which was enough to show the injustice in his heart at this moment. Chapter 122. Others might not be able to sense Chao Yuliang's strength at the peak of Stage 3 inner force, but as a cultivator, Xiao Chen would be able to sense it as long as a martial artist released their inner force, unless they deliberately suppressed it and hid it, ensuring that their inner force would not leak at all times. Xiao Chen would never have thought that Chao Yuliang was actually a martial artist, and that he had already reached the peak of Stage 3 inner force. Among the children of aristocratic families, he was one of the best. Of course, whether Chao Yuliang hid his strength or not, logically speaking, had little to do with Xiao Chen. However, a group of fragmented memories reappeared in Xiao Chen's mind, as if they were about to form a complete sequence of events. The somewhat familiar Audi A6L, the Stage 3 inner force expert who pushed him down the cliff, Chao Yuliang's foresight when he returned to school, and the assassin's words of "you also hid your strength." These scenes, which originally had nothing to do with each other, were put together at this moment. It made Xiao Chen think of something. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Chao Yuliang in the private room. Was it him? Xiao Chen was not too sure. On the way to Songlong Mountain cliff mouth, Xiao Chen vaguely remembered that there seemed to be an Audi A6L and a taxi driving together. Of course, this was also discovered in the fragmented memories after he became a cultivator and recalled the past. And the car that Chao Yuliang drove today was precisely an Audi A6L. Back then, Xiao Chen had not been able to figure out who it could be. However, Chao Yuliang, who was in front of him, fulfilled this condition. After returning to school, Chao Yuliang actually knew that he jumped off the cliff. How did the taxi driver know about this? When he walked to the cliff mouth, he remembered that the driver had already driven away. That unknown assassin said that he also hid his strength. Obviously, among the people he knew, there should be someone who also hid his strength. So many clues pointed to one person at the same time, that was Chao Yuliang. However, these things were not enough to be conclusive evidence, and Xiao Chen could not determine whether this person was Chao Yuliang or not. Chao Yuliang, if this person is really you, then I'm afraid you will be disappointed. I, Xiao Chen, am no longer the previous Xiao Chen. Thinking of the previous times, if the assassin was sent by Chao Yuliang's people, then Lu Zhiming could be said to have helped him several times, and this time it was Lu Zhiming who helped him. Lu Zhiming, wow, you are really a good person. In the private room, Chao Yuliang was already out of breath from being beaten and could not speak. Lu Zhiming, what are you doing? Qing Menjing also recovered at this time and looked at Lu Zhiming with some horror. She did not know why he was crazy and beat up Chao Yuliang as soon as he came in. I don't have any spare time to pay attention to these things. Lu Jinming listened to it. This Xiao Qin said for a long time. The main point was that he was short of money. Thinking of this, Lu Jinming said, "How about this? I will give you a sum of investigation funds. How about it? You help me." "How much can you give?" asked Xiao Qin after listening. "1 month? How about 100,000 yuan? Asked Lu Jinming. 100,000 yuan? The asterisk MN, that's too little. If I have that time, I will go and play underground boxing. It will be more than 100,000 yuan. Xiao Qin shook his head and said disdainfully, "Your work is laborious but not rewarding. You also know that my engagement with the Qing family has been broken off. If I have nothing to do and pay attention to Qing Menjing, the Qing family will think that I still like Qing Menjing. Won't they kill me? No, the risk is too great." This? Lu Jinming wanted to be angry. "Do you think that you can play underground boxing every day? Isn't that my family's money to compensate you?" However, when he heard the last sentence, he somewhat understood. Yes, Xiao Qin has nothing to do with Qing Menjing now. If he pays attention to her all day, what if the Qing family finds trouble with him? However, Lu Jinming was also afraid that other people would do something to Qing Menjing. If the rice was cooked, then wouldn't Lu Jinming have no chance at all? Thinking of this, Lu Jinming said, "Xiao Qin, wow, you also know that if you want to make a lot of money, it coexists with risks. How can there be so many good things in the world without sowing? How about I give you 200,000 yuan a month? 200,000 yuan is my limit. I don't have much pocket money." "All right, then 200,000 yuan. Xiao Qin nodded reluctantly and said, "But let me say it first. This is only the investigation fee. If you want me to do something else, it will be more money." Xiao Qin also noticed that Lu Jinming's pocket money was really not much. He didn't know how he bought the broken bowl before. At this time he could take out 200,000 yuan, which was considered a big loss. "Of course, as long as you inform me, I will do the rest," Lu Jinming said as he patted his chest. "Then I will go back first and see how it is over there." Xiao Qin nodded. "Give me my investigation fee as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the ruthless person also buys me and gives me more money, I won't be able to hold back and change sides." "Okay, no problem. I will give it to you in a few days." Lu Jinming listened to Xiao Qin's words and was very angry. "What the F***ck change sides? What is this? You are an abandoned son of the Xiao family, and you are still so bad **ss? However, Lu Jinming still didn't dare to say this. He still needed Xiao Qin. If Xiao Qin really changed sides, it would be too late even if he cried. Xiao Qin slowly returned to the Purple Chi Pavilion. Suddenly, he saw Chao Yuliang lying on the ground, and Qin Jinping was continuously searching for something on Chao Yuliang's body. "Aya? Liangzi? What happened to you?" Xiao Qin looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in horror. "You have food poisoning? Why is your face swollen?" "Woo-woo. Oh." Chao Yuliang saw Xiao Qin and wanted to explain. However, his mouth was so swollen that he couldn't open it. He couldn't say anything at all. Brother-in-law Xiao Liangzi offended someone and was beaten up. Jin Beibei said, "Just now, Lu Jinming brought people over and gave him a good beating." "What? Lu Jinming came? He beat up Chao Yuliang?" Xiao Qin looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in puzzlement. "I say, Liangzi, how did you offend Lu Jinming? The two of you shouldn't know each other." "Woo-woo." Chao Yuliang was also extremely angry. "It's not like I don't know him. However, when this guy came in, he beat me up like crazy. I'm really unlucky." Finally, Qin Jinping found a small medicine bottle on Chao Yuliang's body. He quickly opened it and poured the medicine inside into Chao Yuliang's mouth. After a while, the redness and swelling on Chao Yuliang's face subsided slightly. At least he could speak. "Oh, Qin Ming, you wait. Brother Liang, shall we go back now?" Qin Jinping asked carefully. Chao Yuliang nodded. It was not suitable for him to take revenge in his current state. It was even more impossible for him to continue playing. "Alas, this is so boring. I haven't found a prostitute yet." Jin Beibei was very disappointed. "Xiao Liangzi, you're so lousy. You haven't even found a prostitute yet, and you've already withered." Chao Yuliang's face turned red. If it was any other time, it would have been fine. But in front of Qing Menjing, he said that he was a coward if he couldn't even handle one. Wouldn't that make Qing Menjing look down on him? If Qing Menjing looked down on him, she would never marry him for her own happiness. Chapter 123. Therefore Chao Yuliang became hot-headed and shouted, "Today, I was beaten up. If it were any other day I wouldn't fall even if there were 3 or 5 of them. Ah, so fierce. Cousin-in-law, can you surpass him?" Jin Beibei turned around and looked at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin was speechless. "Disgusting. I don't want to see you again." Cheng Minjing blushed after hearing that. She glared at Chao Yuliang and turned around, pulling Jin Beibei's hand. "Beibei, let's go home. This place is not fun. Driver, clear the way for me." "Okay." Xiao Qin had been sick of staying here for a long time. He had messed with Chao Yuliang not only because he wanted his mistress to leave this place as soon as possible, but also because he did not expect that there would be an unexpected gain. Although he was not sure that Chao Yuliang was the one who had been trying to set him up, it seemed that he was right. Smart Isha was right. Intelligence was always better. You were a knife that could kill without drawing blood. "Where are we going now? Beibei's house?" When they came to the parking lot, Xiao Qin suddenly remembered that Jin Beibei's car had been replaced by a Porsche 991 with 2 doors and 2 seats. "Wait for my car. We'll take both cars back," said Jin Beibei. "Pooh." Xiao Qin was dazed for a moment. Then he thought of something and said, "Beibei, you are really mean. Qin Jinping lost another car." "I'm not as mean as my cousin-in-law," Jin Beibei said with a smile. Chao Yuliang was beaten into a pig's head. "Hey, what are you talking about?" Cheng Minjing did not understand what they were talking about. She did not know what they were talking about. "Beibei wants to cheat Qin Jinping of another car," said Xiao Qin. "It's my cousin-in-law who found Lu Jinming," said Jin Beibei. "Ah." Cheng Minjing finally understood. She was not a black-bellied girl, so she naturally did not think of these things. However, it did not hinder her intelligence. She understood after Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei mentioned it. Sure enough, Jin Beibei was up to no good when she said she wanted to change cars. As for Lu Jinming, how could it be so coincidental that he suddenly appeared in the private room? It was only when Xiao Qin went to the toilet that he appeared. However, seeing that Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei seemed to know each other very well, Cheng Minjing felt a bit uncomfortable. "I'm your hostess. Why are you playing with my cousin all the time?" After a while, she saw Qin Jinping supporting Chao Yuliang and limping to the parking lot. Qin Jinping found it strange that Xiao Qin and the rest of them had not left yet. However, he was in a hurry to send Chao Yuliang back and had no time to care what Xiao Qin and the rest of them were doing. He took out the car key in a hurry, opened the door of the Panamera, and helped Chao Yuliang into the car. Xin Jingxian, on the other hand, followed them from a distance. Seeing Cheng Minjing, she was about to greet her when she saw Jin Beibei making a phone call. "Hello, Grandpa. This is Beibei." Jin Beibei picked up the phone and put it next to her ear. She continued speaking loudly, "Yes, yes. Let's go back now. However, my car is lost again. It seems to be driven by Qin Jinping." "What? Grandpa, you have to come." Holy *T. Qin Jinping, who was about to help Chao Yuliang into the car, suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. However, he did not. His hand shook and fell on Chao Yuliang's butt. He couldn't have looked more wretched. With hatred in his eyes, Qin Jinping looked at Jin Beibei not far away. However, after careful consideration, he decided not to change cars with Jin Beibei. Gnashing his teeth, he picked up the car key and walked close, saying to Jin Beibei, "I don't want to change cars anymore." Looking at Qin Jinping, Jin Beibei hummed with a smile, "You can't change Jin Beibei's things just because you want to. I don't want it anymore." Qin Jinping was worried about Chao Yuliang's wounds. Taking a deep breath, he slapped the Panamera's car key on the cover of the Porsche 991. "I can't mess with them, but I can hide from them. Bye-bye." Jin Beibei picked up the car key and waved at Qin Jinping. Qin Jinping was so angry that smoke was rising from his nostrils and nose. Had he not been worried about Chao Yuliang, he would have spoken to Jin Beibei today before Gold Fur Lion arrived. "Jingxian, let's get in the car." Qin Jinping walked to Chao Yuliang's Audi A6L. Thankfully, there was still another car. "No, I'll call a taxi myself. You can drive Chao Yuliang home." Xin Jingxian shook her head. Although she was still smiling, she seemed to be a lot more distant from Qin Jinping. It was obvious that she hated Qin Jinping. Well, okay. Qin Jinping naturally sensed it too. However, he could not ignore Chao Yuliang. He could only ask Xin Jingxian about it another day. Helping Chao Yuliang into his Audi A6L, Qin Jinping hurried to get in the car and left quickly. "Jingxian, why don't you ask Xiao Qin to drive you home?" Seeing that Xin Jingxian was going back alone, Cheng Minjing was somewhat worried. Xin Jingxian was a pretty girl. What if she ran into some hooligans when she went out to call a taxi on such a busy street at such a late hour? There were crooks and honest folk mixed together in this area. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Shen Jingxian walked over and smiled as gently as before. Xiao Qin had once been obsessed with that smile. Time had passed and Xiao Qin now only had appreciation for it. As the two of them drifted apart, their attitudes changed too. Why not? And it's not troublesome at all. Shen Jingxian was Qing Menjing's best friend. Apart from Jean Beibei, Qing Menjing had the best relationship with her. How could she not worry about her? She glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "Hey Xiao Chen, can you help me take Jingxian home? Is there a problem?" "No." Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and thought, how dare I say there is a problem? Okay, you drive the Panamera. Beibei and I will go to Grandpa Jin's home first. You can come by yourself then. Qing Menjing ordered. Okay, but what's the address? Xiao Chen had never been to Jin's home. There's a navigation system in the car. Beibei has already set it up. You just need to find home at the address. Qing Menjing said. Got it. Xiao Chen nodded. He took the key of the Panamera and nodded to Shen Jingxian. His eyes were no longer infatuated with her. He just said lightly, Beauty Jingxian, get in the car. Shen Jingxian was stunned. Although Xiao Chen called her Beauty Jingxian, the way Xiao Chen looked at her was completely different from before, which made Shen Jingxian feel strange. How could a playboy change so much in such a short time? Of course, in fact, Xiao Chen wasn't so superficial before. He just wanted to make himself look more stupid, so he deliberately had that expression. Xiao Chen liked Shen Jingxian. It wasn't fake. A graceful lady was a gentleman's desire. However, at that time Xiao Chen still had some fantasies. He thought that if the Shen family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he still have a chance? Although Shen Jingxuan's Shen family was powerful, it wasn't the case in Songning City. If the Shen family wanted to expand their connections and power here, they must cooperate with the families here. At that time, Xiao Chen thought that if the Shen family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he have a chance? After all, Qing Menjing and Shen Jingxian were bosom friends. It wasn't uncommon for the children of aristocratic families to attack bosom friends. Xiao Chen thought he understood these things at that time. But now Xiao Chen felt that he might have been a little into the role of a playboy at that time. No matter what, Shen Jingxian was the young lady of the Shen family. How could she follow him without a title? He wasn't a strong man. Xiao Chen opened the car door for Shen Jingxian in a gentlemanly manner, but he wasn't as attentive as Qin Jinping, which made Shen Jingxian feel a little strange. She couldn't help but look at Xiao Chen a few more times. After getting in the car, Xiao Chen started the car and didn't talk to Shen Jingxian again. Instead, he drove the car directly out of the parking lot. Do you know where my home is? Shen Jingxian couldn't help but ask curiously. Xiao Chen used to be a student of No. 1 middle school, so he should know. It was very late today, and the dormitory building of No. 1 middle school was already closed. If Shen Jingxian didn't show her identity as the young lady of the Shen family, she could only go home to stay. But Shen Jingxian rarely used this identity. Oh, so you want to go home? I thought you were going back to school. Xiao Chen used to go back to school very late, but as long as he said his name as the young master of the Xiao family, the guard would quickly open the door for him. It was the same for Shen Jingxian, but he didn't expect that Shen Jingxian wanted to go home. What a good child. However, Xiao Chen also knew about Shen Jingxuan's home. My family also knows. I used to be obsessed with you for a while, so I also investigated your home address, hobbies, height, 3 measurements, and so on. Ah? Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen in shock. She didn't expect that Xiao Chen would say it so naturally. He even said that he was infatuated with her. She thought that he would be secretive about it. However, forget about the address, he even investigated her 3 measurements? Of course I didn't find out. Xiao Chen smiled. Who, you scared me. Shen Jingxian patted her chest. She was just thinking about who exposed her information. Qing Menjing was probably the only one who knew. However, Qing Menjing obviously wouldn't tell Xiao Chen. Shen Jingxuan's words made Xiao Chen stunned. In the past, when he saw Shen Jingxian, she always had a gentle look, and the speed of her speech was not too fast or too slow. It made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. He had never heard such a little woman's tone. When Shen Jingxian saw that Xiao Chen didn't speak, she also realized the problem with her words just now. She couldn't help but smile and say, I am a normal girl. Of course, there are times when I am surprised. But this time, her speed of speech returned to normal. It was warm and soft. It seems that I am quite honored. Xiao Chen nodded. If it were before, when Shen Jingxian said this to him, he would be very proud, but now everything seemed to have become indifferent. Yes, it is your honor to let you see this lady speak like this. Shen Jingxian was playful. She imitated Qing Menjing's tone and said to Xiao Chen. Chapter 124. Haha. Xiao Chen suddenly laughed out loud. You don't say, it's really similar. They are indeed best friends. Even their voices and expressions are very similar. Xiao Chen, to be honest, I really didn't expect you to become like this one day. Shen Jingxian put away her previous joking expression and said solemnly to Xiao Chen, if you were like this before, maybe Minjing wouldn't hate you so much. It's the same. It doesn't matter. Xiao Chen shrugged. Now I'm eating and drinking under the big sister. I just have to make her happy. You can do it. There will be a day when the Diao silk also makes a comeback. Shen Jingxian said with a smile. He didn't know why, but when Shen Jingxian said the words, Diao silk, in this tone, Xiao Chen felt a little strange. He had never heard Shen Jingxian say such words before. But thinking about it, he didn't have contact with Cheng Menjing in the past. It was impossible for him to imagine that Cheng Menjing had such a tsundere side. Only after being in contact for a long time will one discover the true side? Does it mean that behind every goddess, there is a man who has ked her until she wants to vomit? Xiao Chen shook his head. I won't vomit, right? The Panamera was a sports car. Xiao Chen's speed was very fast. There weren't many cars on the road at night, so they soon arrived at the Shen family's residence in Songning City. Shen Jingxian was also quite surprised that Xiao Chen didn't delay the time to talk to her on the way. Didn't Xiao Chen always find an excuse to talk to me? It was really difficult for her to overlap the current Xiao Chen with the previous Xiao Chen. They were completely different people. I'm leaving, Xiao Chen, thank you for sending me off. Shen Jingxian unfastened her seat belt, pushed the car door open, and waved her hand to Xiao Chen as she said softly. Well, give Miss a call so that she won't worry. Xiao Chen nodded. Okay. Shen Jingxian was stunned and then nodded. Xiao Chen seemed to be very concerned about Cheng Menjing. Or was it because Cheng Menjing was his mistress? Xiao Chen didn't say anything else. He didn't even have a trace of reluctance. He started the car and left the Shen family's residence with a beautiful drift. Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen's car quietly and shook her head. Shen, did Jinpeng send you back? Shen Jinghao heard the sound of the car in the courtyard and walked out of the villa. She saw her daughter standing at the door of the courtyard, watching a car leave. Jinpeng? Shen Jingxian was slightly stunned, then she shook her head and said, no, it was Menjing. Shen Jingxian didn't expect that she would lie, but she felt that it was natural to lie. She was afraid that if she said it was Xiao Chen, it would implicate Xiao Chen. Oh, where's Jinpeng? Shen Jinghao nodded and asked without the slightest doubt. Chao Yuliang was beaten up today. Qin Jinpeng sent him back, Shen Jingxian said. The Chao family's Chao Yuliang? Who dares to beat him? Shen Jinghao was slightly stunned. It's the Lu family's Lu Jinming. Shen Jingxian didn't care much about these things. Who knows why? Lu family? Shen Jinghao shook his head. He didn't understand why an underworld family dared to be so arrogant now. Could it be that the Lu family found something to rely on? Forget it. Right, Shen, how are you getting along with Jinpeng recently? Can you get engaged to him? Shen Jinghao asked. With him? Let's wait first. I think he is a bit unreliable. Shen Jingxian shook her head slightly and said, I don't like him. Jingxian, we are the children of big families. How can there be true love? You have to think about your brother. He is not the only heir in the Shen family. If we can't make some achievements in Songning City and bring help to your brother, how can he stand out? Shen Jinghao smiled bitterly. Although the Chen family is not big, they are also the local tyrant in Songning City. If we want to develop here, we must unite with them. Oh. Shen Jingxian flattened her mouth. When she thought of her brother, she stopped talking. She loved her brother very much. For her brother, she could marry someone she didn't like. This was the fate of a woman from a big family. Cousin Menjing, why did you ask your cousin-in-law to send Sister Jingxian home? Aren't you afraid that they will rekindle their old love? Jean Bebe was driving the Porsche 991. She was very excited. She had never driven such a good sports car before. Rekindle their old love? Bebe, what are you talking about? How can Jingxian fall in love with Xiao Chen? Cheng Menjing said disdainfully. That's not necessarily true. The current cousin-in-law is not the same as before. Not only is he powerful, but he is also as smart as me. Besides, he can change his shape. He can cook, cure, and sleep with me. Haha, he is simply an all-rounder. Jean Beibei said excitedly. Since you admire him so much, you should marry him. Qing Minjing frowned. Why did she feel that Jean Beibei seemed to be in love? When she was with this girl in the past, she basically never talked about men. Even if she mentioned it occasionally, it was to prank someone. Well, my grandpa does hope that, but I can't compete with you, cousin Minjing, Jean Beibei said. Qing Minjing was a bit puzzled after hearing that. Why did Master Jean fall in love with Xiaoqin? Was it just because Xiaoqin and Jean Beibei got along well? Or was it because Xiaoqin could cure diseases? I don't want it. You can have it, Qing Minjing said. It's a pity that my cousin-in-law doesn't like me, Jean Beibei said regretfully. If you like him, he would love to marry you. Qing Minjing snorted. That's not necessarily true. I'm not a goddess. I don't have a good temperament like you, cousin Minjing. Jean Beibei held her breasts with her hands and said, my breasts are the only advantage I have. I wonder if my cousin-in-law likes boobs. Jean Beibei's words made Qing Minjing somewhat happy. I'm the goddess. It's just that Xiaoqin is a blind man who can't see how good I am. Beibei can see it. Xiaoqin's car was fast. Although he had played with cars before, it had been difficult for him to keep the speed at such a high speed. Although there were not many cars on the street at night, it was still a street, and the performance of a sports car could not be maximized. However, today Xiaoqin discovered that he could do it. Traveling in the traffic, Xiaoqin could do it easily. He was almost one with the car. The six senses of a cultivator had been enhanced, allowing Xiaoqin to execute every movement skillfully and flawlessly. Previously, Xiaoqin had seen movements in racing videos, but he had never been able to execute them. Now Xiaoqin could easily execute them. Just like cooking with fried dough sticks, if Xiaoqin were to take part in a race right now, it would not be a problem for him to win the first place. What an awesome cultivator. In fact, what Xiaoqin did not know was that it would not be difficult for him to win the first place with his driving skills. As long as he practiced a few more times, he would almost be a god of racing. Jean Beibei was driving when she suddenly discovered that somebody was blinking at her with the headlights behind her. She was immediately infuriated. She was about to take a closer look when a red Porsche 991 drove past her quickly and overtook her instantly, parking on the side of the road. The plate number of the red Porsche 991 was TPC 991. It was one of the best plates too. PC could be the abbreviation of sports car or the abbreviation of Porsche, the English logo of Porsche. With the plate number of 991, it was almost invincible. Only Qin Jinping's family could have auctioned such an awesome plate number. Holy *T. Why is my cousin-in-law here so soon? Didn't he go to send Sister Jingxian home? Did he leave Sister Jingxian on the side of the road? Jean Beibei looked at the car in front of her in surprise. It was Qin Jinping's car. Qing Minjing frowned suspiciously after hearing Jean Beibei's words too. Are you serious? Isn't Xiaoqin in love with Jingxian? It would be great if he didn't send her home and dawdled a little longer on the way. How could he be so fast? It's hard to say. I don't think my cousin-in-law is so shallow. Jean Beibei shook her head. Cousin Minjing, have you ever dissed my cousin-in-law before? Why do I feel that he is a completely different person from what you described him to be? Qing Minjing was rendered speechless. In fact, she felt that Xiaoqin was a different person from what she remembered too. Jean Beibei parked the car behind Xiaoqin's Porsche 991 and then got out of the car. She happened to see Xiaoqin also open the door and get out of the car. Qing Minjing ran over and looked into the car, trying to see where Xin Jingxian was. However, she didn't find Xin Jingxian. She was a little anxious. She put her hands on her waist and questioned, Hey Xiaoqin, where did you take Jingxian? I sent her home. Xiaoqin was stunned, not knowing why the eldest miss was mad again. Did he come back too late? But it was already very fast. Sent her home? Qing Minjing looked at Xiaoqin suspiciously. You came back in such a short time? This car is fast. Xiaoqin said, I used to go racing so I drove fast. Oh. Qing Minjing nodded. She believed Xiaoqin's words. She had heard that Xiaoqin played with cars before. On the other hand, Jean Beibei looked at Xiaoqin in surprise, but she did not say anything. The two cars set off from the Wonderland of Dreams at the same time. Xiaoqin went to the Xin family's residence and then caught up with them. It was not as simple as racing. He was like a robot. Let's go to Beibei's home. Do you want to take my car or Beibei's? Xiaoqin asked. I won't take your car. I will be scared to death if you drive so fast. Qing Minjing snorted and got into Jean Beibei's car. I want to take my brother-in-law's car, Jean Beibei said. Beibei. Cheng Minjing shouted with a gloomy face. Although she could also drive, she didn't know how to control a sports car. She was afraid of hitting it if it was too fast. Oh, then I'd better be cousin Minjing's driver. Jean Beibei closed the door of the Panamera and returned to the Porsche 991. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.